The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series is live on RaceSpotTV. The final round, round 16 of the 2015 series, takes place from the Circuit of the Americas near Austin, Texas, USA. The 5.5 kilometer, 3.4 mile circuit, anti-clockwise, much like Interlagos 2 weeks ago, gives these drivers 56 laps of challenging for a wonderful, wonderful race later on. For now, qualifying has progressed, and at the same time, we look at the championship standings. Gregor Hutu obviously claimed his fifth successive title, a fifth title out of 6 years in the championship. Hugo Luis, obviously the only other champion. We look at that top 25 as well. Who will be able to guarantee themselves a World Championship license into next year? That's the focus on today's race here today. Good evening, everybody. Johnny Simon in the commentary booth alongside Daniel Benefield and Raphael Sunk on cameras for us. And here we come, Daniel, to a wonderful racetrack modelled upon many others: Silverstone, Hockenheim, even the Istanbul International Circuit. And it gives us the pleasant racetrack that we have here in Texas.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, and yes, a rather nice racetrack when you keep it on the racing track, but at the same time, not really challenging with all the runoff here. But the circuit itself, a very rhythmic track, particularly in Sector 1, and then very start-stop towards the end of the lap. So, very interesting track. That's 5.5, just over 5.5 kilometers long, so very testing for the drivers for the race that will happen in about 20 minutes time.
Certainly will, yes. The 5.5 kilometer, 3.4 mile circuit. We know anti-clockwise, as we mentioned, just the same as 2 weeks ago at Interlagos. 20 turns, 12 to the right, 12 to the left, 8 to the right, with 56 laps of racing later on, as Daniel mentioned. For now, though, with 5.5 minutes left in this qualifying session, we look at that first spot on the grid so far, Daniel. It is Mitchell de Jong, a man who has claimed 2 wins this season. He's currently on his outlap, towards the end of it, slowly building up rhythm to scream across that front straight to begin what should be maybe his, could get maybe 2 laps in at this stage.
Yeah, we'll see what happens as he's going on to his final qualifying lap now. But what I found interesting, Johnny, just as Mitchell comes up to turn 1 and gets it turned in really nicely there, and uses all of the track really nicely. Quite a few drivers have made a mistake on their flying lap, so should be interesting. Look for as we go just under 5 minutes left, and de Jong so far been pinpoint perfect on this lap.
He certainly has. Through that first sector of the racetrack, coming towards the wonderful turn 11, the hairpin opens up very wide across the apex, and very difficult here, Daniel, as he has to apply the throttle onto this long, long straight, around 1.1 kilometers on the run down to turn 12. A little bit of undulation as well. You can see there, he hugs that red line, trying to minimize the track distance.
Yeah, coming into turn 12, and slightly downhill into the braking, and similar to turn 11 but not as much. It widens on the entry, so it's actually really hard to spot your apex at both turns 11 and 12. And now we got 13, 14, 15 through here. Is like a very hard section, very hard to get the car slowed down through for turn 15, I should say that. And then you got 16, and 17 and 18, the 3 apex right hand into turn 19. Very hard off camber, slightly off camber there, so it's hard to get the car turned in there, and then turn 20 up, and a short run to the start finish line here.
He crosses that line, a 1 minute 35.939, and he increases his gap to pole position. And what we've seen, Daniel, the first time out in Suzuka, we had the dynamic track and implementation, then at Interlagos, and now for the third time to close out the season here at Circuit of the Americas. And we saw, for example, at Suzuka the first time out, 4 drivers in the last minute taking pole position, so it can go to anybody, and it's important that people complete their laps towards the end of the session. Still 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, this new dynamic track that we've recently got with iRacing is really thrown up some curveballs in qualifying and racing as the track wraps up and the track itself changes, and it suits some cars better than, or some cars should say suit the track better at different stages of the race, and it really makes qualifying and the race really interesting as Martin Kroenke now on his last qualifying lap just comes towards the end of the first sector.
He does indeed. Martin Kroenke, towards the end of that first sector, gets a bit of the anti-cut curb, I think, there. Maybe damaging the car. We'll speak about that a little bit more later on. The rules, as always in the World Championship, you must complete your lap before that timer ticks to 0. So 2 minutes and 5 seconds left at the moment. Another man, Gregor Hutu, who's currently in P23, is struggling at the moment, has not completed a timed lap. He's waiting towards the last moments, so we'll see if he's clear and composed here, Daniel, because more importantly, you look at the guys up there in the order, de Jong, Kroenke, Buteloop, then Sebastian Job. The first red line driver is Olli Pakala, so we'll see if Gregor Hutu can maybe get his name up there as usual.
Yeah, so two drivers we've got to look out for at the moment is Martin Kroenke is coming through 16, 17 and 18 now, and Gregor Hutu is just coming into turn 15, so Kroenke will finish his lap first. A little squirrely on the exit of turn 19 there for Martin Kroenke. See if he can improve, get any closer to his teammate Mitchell de Jong. As he comes across the line, it's a 36.437, and so it's the slightest improvement, but it's still half a second off his teammate. Looking at Gregor Hutu now as he's, again, squirrely out of turn 20, comes across the line now for a 37.0 that's only going to put him 13th.
Only 13th on the grid for Gregor Hutu, a man who qualified in 13th at Suzuka a month ago, and now once again starts outside the top 10. For Mitchell de Jong, has pole position so far. We look at a few other drivers who will be still completing their laps throughout the field. Having a look at Fernando Guerrero, a good friend of mine who's here racing today with his pro license. I don't think, or he will indeed, no, he won't. I'm looking at the wrong corner. He will not complete another lap, but he's in P24 at the moment, and I believe, maybe Daniel, that almost wraps up qualifying. Still waiting for a few other drivers to come across the line, and more importantly, Kazuki Yamashima with a 1 minute 37.010 still out on the racetrack in P10. A man who had a promising 2014 season wants to finish 2015 on a high.
Yeah, it's sort of gone missing this year has Kazuki Yamashima, and obviously with him the switch to from Ronin Racing to Radicals Online, had some hardware issues earlier on in the year, and it sort of held him back from running WCS this year, partly why we've only seen him in 4 other races, so his 5th start of the season today. Sorry about that, Johnny. So partly why we haven't seen him as much as we probably should have, but he'll be back in the Pro Series, and if he keeps his gets his WCS license back, I should say, we'll see him in the series next year.
Certainly so, and that is qualifying all wrapped up as Mitchell de Jong takes pole position for another round this season. A 1 minute 35.939, a really thriller lap from him, almost half a second up on his teammate Martin Kroenke, who joins him on the front row in P2. Then, on that second row, 2 very strong drivers, Jeremy Buteloop and Sebastian Job. They need a little bit of pride to feel out the season, and let's see if they can get a podium spot even above Olli Pakala, a red line driver who has not won a race. Alongside him, another man who hasn't won a race in 2015, Hugo Luis. They share that third row of the grid. Then down the order, Andre Bocher in 7th, Isaac Price in 8th, Jake Sterios 9th, as we spoke about, Kazuki Umeshima in 10th, Alex Simpson, a man who needs to make it into the top 25, which we'll look at after qualifying, is in 11th. Down the order, Ilka Hapala 12th, Gregor Hutu incredibly in 13th after another poor qualifying performance. Then Mac Backham, and we look at a few more names down that list. The new boy, Fernando Guerrero in 24th position. Behind him, Jonas Nukarainen, who has a penalty for this round, will start from 25th on the grid. And that is basically another qualifying session all but done from the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. We'll step aside for one moment and we'll join you after a few minutes. After these short messages, you're watching the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series live on RaceSpotTV.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.
It's been a very long off-season. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing, from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car, endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by COTA from the front. They're packing up behind number one. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number one for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone is just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to.
Oh, he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run.
We do a lot of live broadcasts now. Every Tuesday is NASCAR night, so on alternating Tuesdays we do the Peak Antifreeze Series, and on the other Tuesdays the B-Class Series, which is the Xfinity cars, and sometimes we'll even do some short track racing depending on the schedule. Every other Saturday we do the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so the best road racers we have. And we also broadcast some special events, including the Endurance Championship, which is part of the Road Warriors Series. So we broadcast the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12 Hour. We'll do the Watkins Glen 6 hour, several other races along there. And then, of course, the iRacing Pro Racing Champions, which is usually our biggest and most watched event of the year.
That is short track racing, and that's how awesome this sim is, Joe. That's something you see on TV on highlight reels, and we just saw it here, live.
We invite iRacers who are real-world racers. They compete every December. Guys like Alex Gurney, Justin Wilson, Scott Speed, Ron Capps, the list goes on. Really some big-name drivers from all major forms of motorsport. It's really neat to see them get together and race together.
See Laughlin up top, down to the... Oh, he gets turned! Laughlin gets turned! Caution is out foul at the front of the field!
The easiest place to find the broadcast is on our website, iRacing.com/live. So you can find some of our races on fanschoice.tv as well. A nice place to find iRacing broadcasts. You can also find it at mrn.com and peakauto.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series live coverage of the final round from the Circuit of the Americas near Austin, Texas, USA. Qualifying is all but over, and Mitchell de Jong with his 1 minute 35.939, despite being around 6 or 7 tenths slower than last year's pole time, dominates this year's session by around about half a second on teammate Martin Kroenke. Absolutely incredible, and we'll watch Mitchell de Jong's pole lap right now and watch the beauty of this man lapping around Austin, Texas. There we go, Daniel. A wonderful pole position lap from Mitchell de Jong. The 1 minute 35.939. And he takes that first spot on the grid. A very pure lap, very clean. And that Esses section at the start, the one that's modeled upon the Maggots Beckett Silverstone complex, was he's just so smooth through there. Hardly any mistakes. And then you thought maybe he'd make maybe one or two come the end of the lap. But as I said, just so pure and consistent. This man deserves to be on pole, and he's completely dominated it by half a second.
It was really smooth, but also it was like millimeter perfect, just how close he was getting to those sleeping policemen. He was missing them by like mere millimeters. So not only was it a very smooth, fast lap, but a very precise lap as well. And it's what you need to go really to be at the top of the world in this car.
It certainly is, and we look at that top 25 spot now. The spot that is currently occupied by Dion Vergis and Eunice Nookarainen behind him. Now, I mean, we speak about him currently starting 25th with a penalty as well. His hopes to gain an automatic entry into next year's championship are slim at the moment. He's currently 6 points behind that top 25 position. He needs to work really hard this race to overcome, what his setbacks are, but it's just going to be too much to ask.
What he needs is a miracle, and what a miracle contains is what happened last year in a way. I'm sure everyone watching will remember how Ollie Picala sort of didn't go when the lights went out, and caused a pilot that included Gregor Hutu and some big names, and I actually remember Eunice Nakurian going down the right-hand side of the track and ended up going into turn 1 in 4th from somewhere like 20th on the grid.
Yeah, Eunice, amazing start, avoided all that contact. Another man was Kazuki Umeshima, who went from 34th to 10th by lap 10 last year. Incredible. And he's starting 10th this year on the grid, so he doesn't have to pass 24 drivers this time around. He's already made that up on the first lap here today. So for Kazuki, let's see if he can get a good result out in the race later on, which should start in around about 5 minutes time. But finally, Daniel, we look at a few other drivers who are in trouble today. Mathematically, from P15, Paul Ilbrink, to Miguel Martin in P29, I should say, they are all in contention to make it into the top 25. But for some of them, such as Tomo Meglic and Miguel Martin, they're basically counting on a race win here this afternoon, which will be incredibly difficult. And considering guys like Miguel Martin not even showing up, there's no doubt about it that he's not going to make the top 25. But Meglic from 16th on the grid, he's basically has to make his mindset all ready for the Pro Series in a month's time.
Yeah, well, I have been talking to Miguel in the last few weeks or so, and he said that he wasn't racing the rest of the season. He might do the Pro Series, but he's just had the worst luck this season, and hence why he hasn't done the last few races. Tomo, he needs an even bigger miracle than what Jonas needs to make it to the top 25. So it'll be interesting. And at the same time, you got the guys further up, so like Ilbrink, Avery, Price, Carla. That you could all say that they're pretty safe. Even the likes of Benito and Hegland, you could say, are really safe. But obviously, the main players as such will be Tamala, Simpson, Vergis, Nakurian, and depending maybe Mac Backham as well.
It's going to be a tough fight this afternoon. Once again, we'll step aside for our final commercial break before the race, a very short one. Do not leave us. The race underway in a few minutes' time. You're watching the final round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series live on RaceSpotTV. We'll be back shortly after these messages.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car. So, even if you're here for an hour of testing, that's only 15 laps, and you're only going to see the corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. It's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and every year I've come here, this being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to iRacing for a long time, and we've really been working hard towards it for the last 5 years. But really, things only came together in the last week leading up to this race, so it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads. So when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year. and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
We're so excited to be bringing the Nürburgring to everybody. It's by far the most requested track that we've ever had. I've been with iRacing since the beginning. I can't tell you how many people I've met at trade shows or racetracks and demos that we've done all across the United States and even in Europe, and it's always the most requested track that we've had. And it's always been kind of a sad answer, no, we don't have it. When are you bringing it? And we never really had a good answer. And obviously we announced this last year, and it's super exciting. I mean, it really is one of the premier tracks in the entire world.
The Nürburgring, to me as a race fan, is the holy grail of racetracks. Even from the gaming aspect, just getting that car around that track was a personal achievement by itself. It's kind of got this iconic status to it that makes it different than any other track in the world.
We actually have a lot of history with the Nürburgring dating back about 20 years. We created a version of the track for Grand Prix Legends, which was a Formula One simulation for the PC. But this will be the first time that we've worked on the track with laser scan data, highly precise measurements, and of course the iRacing standards of quality. So we're really excited about this project and we can't wait to release it. There are two main facilities at Nürburgring. There's the Grand Prix course, which is basically a modern F1 style racetrack. And then there's the Nordschleife itself, which has been around for decades. And of course,
the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series race will be underway in 5 minutes time for 56 laps of racing. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to what should be a thrilling final race of the season. Don't forget, the Petit Le Mans is also being broadcasted live, the 9-hour event, which is, well, actually don't watch it until we finish this, but it's on at the same time on iRacing Live. Will Vincent and Rachel White for producing that broadcast for you all as we commence this warm-up session, Daniel. And after qualifying, you know, coming to warm-up as well as a driver, it's a difficult situation. You have to put in fuel into that car. Setup is a little bit, you know, in terms of spring rates and everything else, can be a little bit different. But at the same time, you know, you're fighting for what should be, for some of these drivers, a top 25 spot. It's incredibly difficult to stay focused at this point of the event.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you got so much going through your mind. I mean, you got the race start, pit entries, pit exits, and then all the guys around you. And then, obviously, if you're further back in the field, you got to worry about how much aero push you're going to get in the early laps when everyone's all together. So, I mean, there's so much to think about in the next 4 minutes, and it all happens very quickly in these cars as well. So. A lot of pressure on some of these guys right now. I would even say Gregor Houty would be under a little bit of pressure right now, starting back in 13th.
The second time we head to the Circuit of the Americas in the iWCGPS in history. Last year, the first ever event here had a chaotic start, Daniel, and that was all started by Pakala's little bit of a wasn't able to get that car off the grid, we should say.
Yeah, we never really figured out what it was, whether it was a non-racing glitch, a hardware glitch, or what type of glitch it was. But we never actually found out what it was. But what we do know is it caused absolute mayhem at the start of last year's race.
It certainly did. Hopefully none of that this time round. as we look at the starting grid for your 56 lap event. This time out for the final round of 2015. And that man, Mitchell de Jong, in first position, half a second up on teammate Martin Kroenke in P2. On that second row, it's shared by Jeremy Bootloop and Sebastian Job, two drivers who are in fighting contention for that most improved award for 2015. And they're certainly proving their worth towards the end of this season. On the third row of the grid, it's Ollie Pakula and Hugo Luis. Two guys who share that row have not won a race in 2015, who did in 2014, so they'll be fighting for that final victory here this afternoon. We look at 7th and 8th, Andre Bocher, Isaac Price on that 4th row. Rounding out the top 10, it's Jake Sterios from Kazuki Umeshima. The rest of the grid, Alex Simpson in 11th, needs to fight for that top 25 position, really wants to avoid having to take part in the Pro Series in a month's time. Ilka Habala 12th, 5-time world champion Gregor Hutu, another horrid qualifying performance, starts from 13th. What can he do? He managed to get a podium at Suzuka. Can he do this time out from the same grid slot? Behind him, it's Mac Backham, the Pro Series driver, doesn't have a WC license, allowed to race, as the rules say you can. There's less than 35 World Championship drivers taking part. We'll head 14th on the grid. Robin Friskop's behind in 15th, and then we look at the rest of the grid on your screen. Some big names there, Joni Tamala and Anton Higelin, Daniel. They're in 17th and 18th. Down the order, and they need to avoid the trouble at the start if there is. Heading uphill into turn 1, we could see some chaos, and for them, it could mean having to take part in the Pro Series for 2015 to 16.
Yeah, Hagelin's a bit safer than Tamala. Tamala's only 3/10 further up than Alex Simpson, so he's 17 points clear of Nakurian in 26. So more of an issue from Nakurian than Hagelin. Hagelin's on 158, 13 points clear of Tamala. So Hagelin, I should say, won't be as worried, but Tamala might be a bit nervous starting down in 17th.
Joni Tamala, young man, certainly stay composed this time out for this start. He's had a lot of flair, a lot of poise throughout the season, but the 19-year-old will hopefully at least capitalize on a good result. His best result, P5 at Phillip Island in 2014. Down the order though, it's going to be a difficult asking for him. And this race, Daniel, before we start to take part on the grid, Mitchell de Jong doing a few practice starts. At this rate, with his pace, it has to be said, he may even take his 3rd career win here in his rookie season.
It definitely wouldn't surprise me. I mean, it's not every day that you out-qualify Martin Kroenke by half a second, and well, the rest of the field for that fact by half a second, so it honestly would not surprise me if de Jong out-races everyone today.
Here we go, as we take to the grid for the start of the 56 lap race. RaceSpot.tv /timing. Not under effect today. That's obviously in use for the Petit Le Mans. But these drivers are not worried about that. They're worried about taking to that starting grid with 30 seconds to go until those 5 lights illuminate. A very long time. They stare and wait. The nerves build up. Mitchell de Jong on pole. Can he take his 3rd career win? Or will Martin Kroenke take his 2nd successive win to finish off the season here in 2015? What can Jeremy Bootloop and Sebastian Job do? From the 2nd row of the grid, 2 drivers, some of the most improved in 2015, will be hoping that they can improve and take a race win here today. As we wait for those lights that illuminate and 56 laps of racing, we go green at Circuit of the Americas. A wonderful start from Martin Kroenke. De Jong has a lot of wheel spin, but he has the inside line into turn 1. Those 2 Coanda Simsport cars fighting for pride here, as Kroenke has to battle out Jeremy Bootloop in P3, and it's Mitchell de Jong leading into turn 1 from Kroenke, then Bootloop behind. Sebastian Job once again, Daniel, another poor start. He needs to rectify that. He's fallen down way down the order.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Job was 4th on the grid. He's now running 6 behind 2 Coanda cars. I thought it was 2 Coanda cars, but it's actually Ollie Pakala up in 4th, and then Andre Bocher in 5th. Hugo Louise has, in fact, Seb just went to the inside and finished a move rather nicely on Andre Borchers straight off the bat. First lap on cold tyres, and now Borchers coming back. They got to look out for Louise as well. And Omishima's there as well, all in the slipstream. Borcher to the inside of Joe. Omishima to the inside of Louise.
Oh!
Here we go then into turn 12. But it looks like Joe and Louise have both held onto their positions as they come into turn 13.
Battle for the lead as well. Martin Kroenke trying to make Mitchell de Jong make mistakes, and he has so far. A few mistakes from Mitchell, but he keeps the lead, running off track at one stage. For Martin, he has to settle in for P2. Jeremy Boothloop behind, getting quite restless, and that battle, Sebastian Job as well, fighting his way after a poor start back into P5. Damage limitation for him as we conclude the first lap. Boothloop carrying so much apex speed, almost collecting Kroenke, but it's Mitchell de Jong who leads by half a second ahead of his teammate Martin Kroenke. Behind him, 1 second behind the leader, is Jeremy Boothloop in P3. Ollie Pakala in 4th. Having a look here at Boothloop, he's too far behind. And then Sebastian Job, 2.9 seconds away from the leader. The rest of the top 10, Andre Borcher in 6th. Hugo Luis, who's dropped a position at the start to 7th. Umashima there, Daniel, another strong start from 10th to 8th. And then rounding out the top 10, it's Jake Sterios and Mac Backham from 14th to 10th. Some great wicked starts here.
Yeah, we had a little bit of an issue. Isaac Price and Tomo Medlik look like they're both out of the race. And who's that? That's Nakurian doing his drive-through for his penalty from the previous race. But really surprised actually that, it's a stop-go for Nakuri by the looks of it. And maybe a hold. That's actually a really weird place to stop the car. So not sure what's happening with Nakurian there. But Hugo Luis, really, he nailed the start. Ended up alongside Sebastian Joe. Of the start, but he was on the outside for turn 1, so that's why he's actually dropped back to 7th. I thought he might have taken 4th from Job there, hence why I was surprised that it was only why I thought it was 2 Coanda cars ahead of Job toward halfway through lap 1, as just in the background I saw Matt Backham make a move on Jake Sturgios as well for the P9, so Backham already on the move. And where's Gregor Hutu? Gregor Hutu is 11th, so he's only made a couple of places up off the start, but he will be playing the long game like he did at Suzuka.
He certainly will. And here we are on to lap 3. Gregor Hutu, if there's any criticism you'd have to give to him, Daniel, apart from the brilliant driver that he is that he maybe needs to up his aggression. He's very calm and consistent, but this is where he needs to sort of practice that aggressive, type of driver tactic where he fights his way through the field. We've seen him do it on strategy a lot. Now on fuel, it seems he's just going to be intimidating drivers like he always does, just by hounding their rear end. But he's not going to do anything erratic. That's his driving style. Very calm and consistent. And he makes his way through the field, in an orderly manner. But you'd say in this situation, he really needs to push and be Kobayashi-like.
Yeah, almost like Kobayashi. I wish we had Kobayashi back in F1, to be honest, just on a little side note. But he's in the slipstream of Jake Sturgios, coming down the back straight, coming out of the final corner now. Not sure if Sturgios is going to be close enough to back him to get a slipstream, but Gregor certainly is. And Gregor just drove past Sturgios rather easily, then looked like Sturgios gave it to him under brakes and didn't really want to fight the 5-time world champion.
There's Gregor Hutu into the top 10. Now ahead of him, it's Mac Backham in 9th, Kazuki Umashima 8th, and a bit of a train going on. So from 1st to 10th, it's only 7.5 seconds. So from Mitchell de Jong to Gregor Hutu. More importantly for de Jong, though, in this stage, Dan, is that he's broken that 1 second barrier. Now a second ahead of Martin Kroenke, his teammate. So Mitchell has the pace, and we'll see if that qualifying performance was a fluke or not, whether he can break away here from Martin. At the same time, we have to consider different fuel loads between all these drivers.
Well, it's interesting because last lap they were separated by 100th, were the 2 Coanda cars at the front, but it's actually pretty nice, if I'm honest, to not see a complete Coanda redline domination. I mean, we've got 2 Coanda cars at the front, but Bootflip sitting there in 3rd for Team Redline, and we've got Job, obviously qualified 4th, currently running in 5th for the Apex Racing UK team. Other than that, no real change, because you've got Borcher, Louise and Picala all around those guys. Then a couple of radical cars, Omashima and Bakum in 8th and 9th, as Bakum got really close to the back of Omashima then. And we got Gregor on the back of this trade as well, so this is actually turning into quite a good battle for what is in turn 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th.
And here's Hugo Luis at the front of this train, or second in line, trying to get past his teammate Andre Bocha. He can't do that. And behind them, drivers getting a little bit restless. Now, Umashima here, Daniel, not the most consistent driver in the world, but we've seen it in 2014 at Montreal, in contention for the win. Last time out here last year, as Luis gets very close to Andre Bocha there.
Yeah,
last year.
Sorry, Johnny, but Bocha completely missed the apex at turn 15 then. Omashima was right through turn 18 then as well. So, obviously, Bocha's feeling the pressure, and Omashima's got quite a bit of error push. And did they catch up to Joe quite a bit then? I think they did, because I'm not quite sure. I saw Joe made a little bit of a mistake.
Yeah, and a second one. Ooh.
Yeah, that was
very
that
close.
Car, he just tapped the inside curb then and unset the car as he got on the throttle and just snapped on him. So we saw a similar thing for Seb in the Pro Series last year. He's just got to settle into a rhythm, and he never really did that in the Pro Series last year, which ended up causing a retirement from memory. So he's just got to settle down, settle into rhythm in P5, and not really look in his mirrors because he's got a massive train of cars coming at him.
Now here's Hugo Luis on the exit, tucks into that slipstream of his teammate Andre Bocha, and look at Bocha trying to weave the Brazilian off. The only other champion in this series is Hugo Luis. The other one, we know, 5-time world champion Gregor Hutu, but Hugo does not have the top speed on that Coanda SimSport car to get ahead of his teammate for P6. But Sebastian Job, yeah, he has made a few mistakes. As I talked about it before, with Umashima, how he's not the most consistent driver. Last year could have had a potential podium. The same for Sebastian Job. This year he could have had, some results that have potentially been, very mood-raising, very, gives him a lot of expectations for the future, just simply because he's a young gun for the future. But this time out, Sebastian Job, he slowly worked on his consistency, and I always mention it each round, as the races go on, he's worked and worked, he's becoming more consistent, but now at the early stages of this race, he's essentially proven me wrong, making a couple of mistakes on lap 4 and 5.
Well, he's a very young, we got to remember, Johnny, that he's only 15 years of age, and I'm 19 and he makes me feel old whenever I'm on TeamSpeak with the guys. So he's a very young talent, and he's a very, very talented young kid. So even to be running, currently 5th, he's running top 5 at the very top of the iRacing structure, and he's 15 years old, so he's a very talented guy. And really, it is his rookie season, and he's got ahead very much beyond his years. But he's a bit like Max Verstappen in a way, to be honest. But he's just got to settle in, break those nose in the first season, and come back bigger, better, and stronger next year.
Now we look at Gregor Hutu for Team Redline. In this train, Umashima is getting incredibly close to Mr. Hugo Luis there in P7. For Gregor Hutu though, we saw in Suzuka, he was stuck in traffic in the early stages, and now Hutu's 10.2 seconds away from the lead. Now if Hutu qualified, let's say in P3 where Boutaloop was, Boutaloop's 3.7 seconds away from the lead. So you see, whether you have similar pace to those leaders, in the early stages of the race, when you're stuck in traffic, when you don't make your way through, as a huge mistake here from Kazuki Umashima opens the door for Mac Backham, who snatches P8 away from the Japanese man, and Gregor Hutu, can he capitalize on this? Bit too far behind. Maybe Umashima here can reclaim that 8th position into turn 1. Hutu having a peek up the inside, braking very late, almost tapping Mac Backham. A bit of wheel spin on the exit. Kazuki, very, very composed, very poised from Gregor, but much more important is Kazuki Umashima, who kept his cool, and he maintained that 9th position, Daniel.
Yeah, what the issue was for Gregor there was he wanted to get past Kazuki by going late on the brakes, But the issue for Gregor was if he went too deep, he would have hit Mac and spun Mac around. So really a catch-22 there for Gregor is that now Jake Stogios is joining this train. Who else is joining it? Hapala's not too far off, and Tamala's about a second or two back from Hapala. Now Gregor's in the slipstream of Kazuki Mishima. Will he be close enough? No, he has a little look coming down into turn 12.
There we go. That's what I wanted to see more of Gregor, as we spoke about earlier, being much more aggressive, having that little peak to throw Kazuki off his game. And if you're going to throw anybody off their game, Daniel, as I mentioned, it's Kazuki Mishima, who's butchered some great results in the past, especially last year, as I mentioned, Montreal and the Circuit of the Americas for 2014. This time out, Kazuki really needs to keep his cool, as I mentioned. He did last time out in turn 1, as Mac Backham, he just flew off into another planet there, did not even attempt to turn into that corner, and then we round out to complete the lap. But for Mac Backham there, I'm not sure if the stewards will be looking at that or not, because just completely disregarded where the track limits were.
Yeah, I reckon he probably gained about a tenth then, as just saw in the background, Mishima has Gregor Hutu all over him as coming through the S's, but obviously the dirty air is not going to help Gregor at all, being that close to the back of that Radicals Online car.
No, he's really putting the pressure here on Kazuki, who's fallen back from Mac Backham as well. So for Kazuki, certainly falling into that pressure of the 5-time world champion here. We looked down, up to the lead, for Mitchell de Jong. 3 seconds. This is what we wanted to see, Dan. 3 seconds away from teammate Martin Kroenke. Now, whether they're on the same fuel loads or not, based on Mitchell's brilliant qualifying performance, you could even say that they're on the same strategy here, because Mitchell is incredibly fast. I wouldn't be surprised if he wins this race, lights the flag, but you never know in the end.
Yeah, it seems ever since Kroenke's lost the draft, he's just dropped back. I mean, it was 1.3 seconds that last time around. That doesn't seem right. That does not seem right. We'll see what the difference is this time around. I think that'll be a better teller of what the difference is. So it was a 38.4 for de Jong, a 38.4 for Kroenke, so virtually the exact same lap times. To be exact, it was 3.5 hundredths of a second, not tenths, hundredths of a second. So I think Kroenke just made a mistake that last time around, which dropped him back a bit. But yeah, it's still de Jong just pushing out the laps that he needs to, and it's 2.9 seconds now between the first two Coanda cars, and Vutovic only about 1.4 behind Kroenke.
Strategies for this race. Oh, as Mac, I'm watching him. I think he clipped that anti-cut curb. Hopefully no damage for the Pro Series driver. But the strategies for this race, we're expecting the first stop for the two-stop strategy to be around lap 15 to 21 in this event. The second stop around lap 35 to 41. Anybody gutsy enough to try that one stop will be in around lap 22 to 28. So around halfway distance here, Darren. And strategy, it's calculated a lot. You know, fuel strategy, the same rules as the 2009 Formula 1 season. We are using that Williams FW31 car for the final time here in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. So the last time we're going to see these types of strategies where fuel comes into play and everything like that, next year, it's going to be more about tyres, etc.
Yeah, it's going to be completely different next year. I mean, we've got to get used to that in the Grand Prix Series as well for Season 1. But last time we'll see this car in WCS competition, we will see it in the Pro Series in a month's time. But it'll be the last time some of these guys will drive the car, I'm pretty sure, is just looking at this battle. It's still on for 6th, 7th, 8th. Sort of broken into two battles now, as Greg is all over the back of Kazuki Mishima, and Max all over the back of Hugo as well. And
yeah.
Well, we remember what happened at Suzuka, Johnny. Mac and Hugo came together going into the Casio Triangle.
Yeah, and Malcolm, who made some thrilling passes before that, And as I mentioned many times, Mac, he's always got a calm and collected manner, very poised as he makes his way past drivers. And then when he came up to Hugo, just completely made one small error, and he was out of the race at Suzuka. This time out, he's got a second opportunity to redeem himself, and Hugo breaks away out of that turn 11 hairpin on towards turn 12. Now we know Hugo doesn't have the highest top speed, but the traction looks very good for that Coanda Sim Sport car, and Mac Backham, it's the opposite. Didn't get the best of traction out of turn 11, and once again here, look at Hugo. That rear end is just planted towards the tarmac.
For those physics nerds or fed-up nerds out there, there's probably a softer rear end there for Hugo compared to Mac, but Mac's got his car set up a bit better aerodynamically for the high-speed stuff, so stuff like 16, 17, 18, like the S's early on in the lap. So obviously two slightly different setups here, but we can see it working in different parts of the lap. So I think, given track position and given where each car is strongest, I reckon Hugo's got the advantage over Mac at the moment.
Well, lap 10 of the event is completed, and we look at the top 10 for you. Mitchell de Jong leads by 2.9 seconds ahead of Martin Kroenke. Jeremy Boutloop 4.5 seconds behind the leaders, and 6.2 seconds behind is Olli Pakala. Can he fight his way up the field and claim his first win of 2015? Then it's Sebastian Job in P5. Behind him, Andre Bocha, who heads that train of Hugo Luis, Mac Backham, Kazuki Umeshima, and Gregor Hutu, who rounds out the top 10. Down the order, Jake Sterios in 11th, Ilka Hapala 12th, Yoni Tamala in 13th, Marin Kolak, who had a strong race last time out down at Interlagos, here with P14, started 26th on the grid. And he's a driver to look out for in the Pro Series. He is not guaranteed a license for next year's 2016 World Championship. So he's a driver to really look out for, along with Michael Dinkel, likes of Paul Williams, Peter Berryman, another name that also springs to mind, and even racing here today, Fernando Guerrero in P21, who will be there in a month's time on the 7th of November around Interlagos.
Yeah, I've had some great races with some of the pro guys, Diego Oliveira and Tim Birdie come to mind as well, so exciting what's going to happen in a month's time. But I was just watching Mac then as he goes wide on the exit of turn 19 once again. He's getting closer and closer and closer to Hugo. He actually had a look into turn 12 last time around, see if he's close enough as he blinks out for a second there. He's not going to be close enough into turn 1, so it'll be interesting to see where Mac's going to make his move actually. He seems to be strongest at the end of the back straight, I should say, going into turn 12, so it'll be interesting to see if he tries to set that up this time around.
Well, you mentioned the blinking, and Mackham at the moment is having a few technical issues. Now, will that impede his progress on making a move on Hugo Luis in P7? Who knows? We'll only have to wait and see if Mac can actually get an attempt at passing the Brazilian here. 45 laps remaining in this event, and Mitchell de Jong opens that lead up to 3.3 seconds. Now, we look at the guys who are at the critical stage of making the top 25. We want to see where Alex Simpson is. P18 at the moment, not his strongest race. Last time out at Interlagos, we saw 3 Apex Racing UK cars qualify in the top 10. In the race, it didn't go so well for 2 of them. And those 2 are Anton Higgelin and Alex Simpson. And I think those are 2 guys that need to fix their race pace because, or at least maybe their strategy even, because they qualify so well, but they fall down the order come race time.
Yeah, Alex and Anton haven't had the greatest of luck this year. Anton, going back to the very first race at Interlagos, got caught up in someone else's incident. And I think that actually affected Alex as well. Out to the 2 Apex cars, 17th and 18th at the moment, Hegland and Simpson haven't had the most
Here we go,
luck.
Dan. Sorry to cut you off. Mac Backham up the inside of Hugo Luis. Hugo trying to fight back around the outside, but he's not going to have the speed. And Backham straight up into P7. It was a great move into turn 1. Now, more importantly, this is the big controversial case. He completely missed that second to last corner, ran wide, and that gained him around about a tenth maybe on Hugo in front. So maybe that's something Hugo will look at and complain that Mac gained a little bit of time. But a very good maneuver, as we'll look at that. Mac Backham up the inside, and Hugo tried to get the cut back, but Mac, we know, got his redemption there at least, and made a clean pass on the Brazilian.
Yeah, very, very clean and very concise. He's pulled out about half a second now. As now Greg is looking at Omashima, who's got Hugo just in front of him. This is heating up once again for what is now 8th place. Max sort of checked out just a little bit, just enough to be out of shooting distance for Hugo Luis. But Luis, a little sideways there, coming out of turn 14 there. He did have Omashima. I reckon Omashima will have a similar setup to what Mac Backham will. So I reckon a little bit stiffer in the rear, so it won't be as good off the corner, but it'll be quick in a straight line. As he really closes up to the back of Hugo there on the brakes for turn 20. Hugo's struggling at the moment, and he's starting to get a bit of a train behind him.
Here's Kazuki Omashima on the run down to turn 1. Will he throw it up the inside? No, keeps it together, and you'll stick behind the Brazilian. This time around turn 1, Gregor Hutu behind, also getting a little bit impatient. We can see him pushing to the track limits, trying to make up time on these guys. Hutu still in P10, Omashima really close behind Hugo. He's in P9. Will he be in 8th in a few turns' time? Who knows, as he tries to widen his lines towards the end of that first sector. He's got a great run here. I think traction is vital for Kazuki. We know how good that Coanda SimSport car is coming out of the corners, and this is where dividends will be paid. And it's a fairly good exit from both drivers there. So I think across this straight, Kazuki will get that slipstream. He might catch Hugo towards the end of the straight. And look at this incredible speed as Kazuki Omashima closes in at the last second, but he cannot make a pass on the 2011 world champion.
I was going to say, Kazuki looks like he's really been really good on the brakes in the big braking zones. He was good into 1, he was good into 11, and he had a look into 12, but Hugo just bring the car across just a little bit to say, no, Kazuki, you're not coming through here. But I was going to say, it's surprising that, I mean, it must be just two slightly different setups between the two radical cars, between Mac and Kazuki. I mean, Hugo still has the advantage coming out of the slow corners, but Kazuki seems to be able to handle it just a little better than Mac was. And we've all just an update on the retirements. We've lost Benjamin Lindsay, Eunice Nukurian, Isaac Price, and Tomo Medlik from the race so far.
We have, unfortunate for some of them, so Eunice Nukarainen will take part in the Pro Series for 2015 to 16, and that Pro Series will be on the 7th of November for 71 laps around Interlagos, as drivers battle it out for a 2016 World Championship license. And last year's series saw drivers such as Mitchell de Jong, who currently leads this race, Patrick Holtzman and Tommaso Carla gain their and earn their way through to the 2015 World Championship season. All races live over the off-season on RaceSpotTV. Stay tuned for more information and announcements on social media and the iRacing forums. Here we go, 42 laps remaining in this event, and Mitchell de Jong leads by 3.4 seconds away from Martin Kroenke. Jeremy Boutaloop in 3rd, Ollie Pakula 4th. Down the order, Sebastian Job in his own little world in 5th place. Then it's Andre Bocho in 6th. Mac Backham in 7th position, made his way past Hugo Luis, who is in 8th, under pressure from Kazuki Omashima. Gregor Hutu in 10th, and then rounding out the rest of the grid, Jake Sterios in 11th. We know Ilka Hapala 12th, and look at the run here as well. I'm just having a look at Kazuki Omashima. We might have to focus on this for now because unfortunately his exit out of the final corner there, Dan, is poor, and he will not get a good passing maneuver on Hugo. This is important, where we need to hope that Kazuki is maybe, for his sake, heavier fuel, because if Hugo pits earlier than him, we'll see Kazuki make up time towards the end of his stint.
Yeah, it was a little squirrely coming out of the last corner there, as we just entered the window for the two-stop strategy now. So it'll be interesting to see. I was going to say as well, this sort of train behind Hugo, so Kazuki, Gregor, Jake, and Ilka sort of spread out a little bit, and saying that Greg is starting to get a little bit closer to Omashima once again. As Omashima is so good on the brakes in the dirty air, it's amazing. I'm not sure if he sort of catches himself off guard, and that's why he's not able to get as good at exit out of turn 11 as Hugo. And saying that, he is a bit closer this time around to Hugo Louise coming down into turn 12. Will he have a look? Yes, he will, but he won't make it stick.
Oh, very, very close there for Kazuki. He won't be afraid to battle it out with these big boys. And he'll have to continue. This turn 14 on the racetrack really annoys me, Daniel, because when you drive around this racetrack, you're turning right. You're trying to apply the throttle to gain traction. And the car just doesn't want to plant itself to the racetrack. And we even saw Hugo, who has such a good rear end on that Coanda SimSport car. He even struggled to gain traction as the tyres wear. So that turn 14 there, in that little Hockenheim Stadium section, you could say, is, very difficult to take, in a consistent way.
Yeah, it's not a very nice corner, that's for sure. It's very, very difficult, and that whole complex actually from turn 13 through to turn 15 is difficult, because then you got to turn the car, you got to get the throttle down, then change the direction of the car, and then brake the car while turning. So it's all very difficult. And a little thing I just noticed, just a little bit of trivia, but Kazuki Omashima is in a champion sandwich.
Yeah, and that championship sandwich contains two drivers, the only two champions in iRacing history, in iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series history, as Mac Backham really attacking Andre Butcher now. He's a bit far behind, but can he gain the slipstream here with 40 laps remaining in this event? He's got plenty of time, but we know Mac likes to do it on the racetrack in that wonderful pink car. And he's quite known for his pink car, pink helmet. Pro Series later on for him. He's going to have a miracle result to gain a top 25 position here and skip that Pro Series. Other than that, I want to see him out there, Daniel. I don't know about you, but I'd rather see him competing with all the other guys for a World Championship license.
At the same time, though, it would be pretty cool for Mac to become the third driver in the history of Pro Series competition to be able to skip the Pro Series because of the amount of points he's obtained in the WCS races this run, as he is so close to the back of Andre Butcher now. It's ridiculous as they come down the front straight and up to turn 1. It wouldn't surprise me if that goes to the inside, which he does. Outbrakes Andre Butcher, textbook move, and it's done.
Oh, Butcher had such a good cutback though that he had to back off a little bit to let Mac stay in front of him. So Andre Butcher moves down to P7 and Mac Backham up to 6th. Next on his checklist is the young man Sebastian Job. Now Mac, this is confidence boosting for next year, Daniel. If he passes these guys quite easily, people are going to be intimidated, and he sets himself a reputation for 2016. It's really important that he gets a strong result here today in the final round.
Yeah, I mean, which race was it? It was the Suzuka race where he made contact with Hugo that got him a one race suspension for Interlagos. So he's got to keep it clean as well, or else he might be out of the Pro Series before it even starts. And saying that, he's got a couple of seconds up to Job just up the road. That was not meant to rhyme. It sort of doesn't. I don't know what I'm on. The things of having man flu and trying to commentate. You're
awesome. On Panadol, aren't you?
I thought it was just a man flu, but anyway,
right.
Because I haven't had any Panadol for this. As actually, did Butcher make a mistake? Because he's just dropped back big time off Mac and is into the clutches of his teammate now. Yeah,
Butcher is, it seemed to be at turn 16 is where he lost most of his time. And having a listen to it, a big wobble there. He lost around about half a second from it as well. So Andre Butcher now into the clutches of his teammate Hugo Luis. Mac Backham though, this is really hairy. Let's watch him towards the end of this lap. We'll follow him now as he crosses towards this first little Maggots Beckett's complex, which I like to call it because it is modelled upon that Silverstone complex over there. But Mac Backham now on the run down through turn 10. into 11. We'll have a look when he approaches turn 19. How much racetrack he doesn't use. He goes straight off the track. Rounds turn 11 here. Onto the throttle for turn 12. A very long straight. So the drivers have a little bit of a break here. Just hugging that right side of the racetrack to minimize the track distance used. Spotting that braking point for turn 12. A little bit downhill. Very difficult as you go into the corner. Exit cuts in on you and then on towards 13. Very difficult corner. You don't want to touch that anti-cut curb, and we spoke about this before. 14, the traction, incredibly difficult. And then through 15 and 16, another corner in which the exit cuts straight into you. In turn 17 and 18, the Austin 360 tower on the inside, the 77 meter tall observation tower, and here's turn 19. Wow, he's proved me wrong there. He finally takes or keeps all four wheels on the racetrack, but last time around he was around about 5 car widths away from the actual curb.
You knew we were watching, that's what it was.
That's it.
Tell you what though, what has heated up during that lap is this epic battle, like at the end of the top 10, with Luis, Obashima, Gregor Hutu at the back of it. He hasn't been able to find a way past, so maybe a bit heavy on fuel. What's also interesting is like all these guys seem to be going long into the stint, which I find a little bit interesting as well, but I'll get back to that. So we've got Borcha in 7th, Luis in 8th, Omashima 9th, Hutu 10th, Sturgis 11th, Hipala just hanging on in 12th. As I like, because Marin Kolak has just made his pit stop and come back out. Who's he rejoined behind? Robert Fruskops. So he's rejoined in 22nd, just ahead of Marty Piatella. Fernando Guerrero exits the pit lane, and there's another car in there. Who was the other car? Oh, I thought there was another car that I heard, but there wasn't. See, drugs.
It's drugs. It's Panadol, but nevertheless.
I'm just done. As just looking at our leaders now, De Jong stays out, Kronke stays out. So these guys are going a little longer.
It's Gregor Hutu now.
Gregor
very close to Kazuki Mishima.
Yeah, he's closer to Omashima. Omashima's it seems to be ebb and flow. As Omashima is in. Omashima is in.
So Kazuki Omashima potentially on a 2-stop strategy along with Marin Kolak and Fernando Guerrero. So for Gregor Hutu, who continues. Now I have a feeling that a few of these drivers are going to be one-stopping here today, and we'll have to wait and see, because Mitchell de Jong as well is still continuing away in the lead. 5.1 seconds. He's extruded that gap away ahead of Martin Kronke. Now Umashima, who lets everybody know he pits in, is out and away. Mac Backham also into the pit lane. So we'll see where they feed out. Mac Backham now out of the racetrack. Will he feed out in a little bit of traffic here? Look at the very tight exit into turn 1. Played with fire there, Daniel, almost crossing that pit exit line. But we know he's practiced that for 2 weeks. On the limit there, millimeter perfect, as he heads away with an 8.4 second stop, which signifies most likely that he is on a 2-stop.
Yeah, they definitely will be. They've come out into clear air as well with they've come out behind Vaz, so Max come out in what will be 18th, and Omashima in 19th spot. As where's our leaders? They're just coming around to complete lap 21, and De Jong's in.
De Jong does pit, so we'll have a look at his pit stop times on the limit. Perfect entry for him. He is an incredibly great driver. It's good to see him pushing to the limit, and he's so smooth and consistent. Looking for that pit box now, as he will enter. As Jeremy Bootloop continues, Martin Kronke pits as well though. Olli Pakala also continues for another lap. So the two Coanda SimSport leaders pit at the same time. Mitchell into his box, no mistakes. And we'll look at how long this pit stop time is for Mitchell, because around 8.5 seconds is a 2-stop. But there we go, around about 9 seconds and more. So maybe a 1-stop. We don't know here, Dan, because it's on the brink between a 2-stop and a half-stop. A 2-stop and a 1-stop, I should say. Sebastian Job also in the pits. Hugo Luis as well. Everybody coming in with 35 laps remaining.
Yeah, these guys will all be on 2 stops for sure. And it's just interesting, actually. It'll be interesting to see when Borch's had a half spin. I was just flicking through the field, and Borch just had a half spin And he's going to be... Oh, Gregor's had the break, but he's still got to the inside for turn 11. And he's got it done, but will Borcher will now have the run coming out of the corner and the drive. This is actually going to be really tight. I know we've got pit stops going on, but this is... Butch is going to go to the inside, so Gregor's driven into the left side of the racetrack, and Butch is still going to go on the inside of the 5-time world champion coming into turn 12, but Borcher breaks earlier, and Hutu will keep the position.
Confidence under braking award goes to Gregor Hutu there, who had the outside line and still kept his nose in front of Andre Borcher. So Borcher down to P4, and we'll see who enters the pit lane this time around. So De Jong he rejoins the racetrack in P7. Jeremy Boothloop, who continues on, he's entered the pit lane along with Ollie Pakula. So those two guys as well, pitting 1 lap later. Let's see how much time they gain on the Coanda SimSport drivers. Does Gregor enter the pit lane? This is the important part. He does. So Gregor also into the pit lane. Ilkka Hapala will continue and will lead this race for the moment. So Hutu, Bocha, Sturdios as well, all into the pit lane. And so Mitchell de Jong, still our effective leader, who comes out of the pit lane ahead of Martin Kroenke. So Mitchell de Jong now already out on the exit of turn 1 onto turn 2, now onto turn 3, leads this race by a country mile, Dan. And you'd have to say, any mistakes, if he hits an anti-cut curb, his race is over. Apart from that, he looks so smooth and calm. That's not going to happen this round.
Yeah, he just needs to not push it. He needs to drive at about 98% just to make sure that he doesn't hit anything. And was it Omashima? Just going back to Borcher. Oh no. So what's happened is Andre Borcher's come out of the pit lane alongside Gregor Hutu, my add, and then he's come into turn 1, and let's just say 2 Coanda cars have made contact, and actually there was a secondary contact between Jake Sturgios and Kazuki Omashima, so it's all gone off right now at the first round of pit stops.
Oh wow, so incredible stuff there. So that was with Hugo Luis, Andre Borcher and Hugo making contact at turn 1. And hopefully Hugo doesn't have any damage. Hutu right behind now into turn 12 as a little peek. The 2 world champions fighting off here for P10 and 11. Incredible that they're fighting off for those positions. We know the pit stops aren't over completely. But what about Yoni Tamalo? If he's one-stopping, he has a promising result for himself here. Currently in P5. Needs a top 25 result in the championship coming into this round. Yoni Tamala was P23. He's not guaranteed that top 25 position, but he needs to at least finish this race and get some good points for himself. Ilkka Hapala enters the pit lane, and that hands the lead straight back to Mitchell de Jong, who leads by 6.1 seconds now ahead of Martin Kroenke. Jeremy Boothloop remains 3rd. Ollie Pakula in 4th. Yoni Tamala, we know, still hasn't made his pit stop, is in 5th. Then it's Sebastian Job in 6th. Mac Backham still maintains 7th position, fighting towards Sebastian Job in front, who's next on his checklist. And Hugo and Gregor, this will be an interesting fight in the next stages, Daniel, with 33 laps remaining, because Hutu is only 6/10 behind Hugo here. If you can make a pass, be getting a good exit here out of turn 9 on towards turn 10 and 11. I think Gregor could maybe find his way into P8, but at the moment he's a little bit too far behind.
Yeah, interesting. Hapala actually jumped Sturgios in that round, and Omashima for that fact in the round of starts. Obviously, they all had their issues when Borcher and Louise touched and Borcher spun, and yeah, that little issue. And Ilka's actually come out of this, the best out of all of them, and has jumped up to somewhere around P9, but just quickly before Hutu goes on the attack, I reckon Tamala is going to be in a one-stop the way he lets Pakala pass at the end of the last lap. So I reckon Tamala's on one-stop.
So he enters the pit lane, Yoni Tamala, and he hits the wall as well, and I think that car's damaged by the looks of it. Maybe I might be wrong, but Yoni Tamala, who enters the pit lane at this stage of the race with 32 laps remaining, pushed to the absolute limit, lost his car a little bit, lost the rear end, and you can see there Daniel tagging that wall. It could could have paid dividends if he got it right, but at this rate he got it wrong and he's lost time and maybe potentially damage on that car, a longer pit stop, and hopefully with a bit of luck on his side, because he needs a top 25 position for the World Championship next year.
I reckon he'll still be pretty safe. To be honest, it looks like they changed the front wing, whereas he come out, quite ironically, he's actually come out in between the two Apex cars of Hagelin and Simpson. Now Simpson's in 24th in the championship, so this all of a sudden has become very important in terms of the top 25. So who's behind them as well? There's another car in behind, that's Paul Ilbrink. He's
and Dion
15th
Burgess
in the
behind that.
So he's pretty safe. So this just took another turn for the top 25.
Yeah, Dion Burgess there in P20 as well, who is in that P25 position. That's real important. We know Nukkarainen is out of the event, but will Mac Backham with a strong result here this afternoon knock any of those guys out of that P25 slot. So really important that these guys finish the race strongly. They don't collect each other. But for Mac Backham, 1.2 seconds behind Sebastian Job. He really needs to close him behind. He's in P6 at the moment. That's Mac. And Sebastian, who can garnish another top 5 position. This season, Sebastian's finished twice in the top 5, 5 times in the top 10. So it's not like he's new to this position. You know, he's not going to be under pressure, thinking too much. He's going to be calm. He knows he's one of the top drivers out there in this series. Mac is new. And this is the learning curve I spoke about before for Mac Backham. Can he intimidate other drivers early? Build himself a reputation where people are too scared to battle with him, and they essentially give him free positions on the racetrack, and he loses minimal time.
Well, we'll see what happens when he pulls up to the rear wing of that Apex Racing UK car. But just because I was talking obviously to Alex Simpson, and pretty much with Alex scoring no points, Mac needed a top 3 to get into the top 25 straight off the bat, so Mac's not quite in the position yet to steal a top 25 place from Dion Burgess, I don't think. But he is closing in on that 5th place, so it'll be interesting, as well as this train in behind him saying that it's a bit of a broken up train now for 7th between Louise, Hutu, Hapala, Sturgis, Omashima, Borcher as well. Just saying, obviously we've got the 2 champions battling for 7th and 8th. The only 2 world champions in iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series history, and they're battling for 7th.
So it goes to show times change. It's only been 1 race for Gregor though, from his podium position or 2nd place out there at Suzuka. On the final lap, got past Olli Pakala. And it wasn't team orders like in Suzuka. Actually, Suzuka, I should say, I'll correct myself there. That was really poor by me. That was not team orders. That was Pakala being smart and giving that position for safety. So that's apologies for that. But for last round at least, Pakala made a mistake on the final lap. And that's what cost him. You know, Pakala this season, he's the only guy who's taken a pole position and has not taken a race win. Now, not every driver has converted a pole into a race win. But every driver that's taken a pole, except for Olli Pakala, has had the speed to take race wins at the same time. So yes, we always speak about race consistency. But then you look at pace as well. De Jong, who currently leads by 5.9 seconds, ahead of Martin Kroenke, those 2 guys have a 10-second lead over Jeremy Boothloop, or essentially Mitchell does. Pace is oh so important in this series, and we emphasize consistency so much, but pace at the same time is one of the critical factors to being fast and gaining a World Championship license.
Yeah, but I mean, qualifying is such an important fact. I mean, racing is as well, but with everyone being so close in race crew and it being so hard to overtake at the top level, qualifying is absolutely crucial. I mean, we're seeing it now. Yeah, Greg has started 13th, I should say, and he's up to 8th. But, I mean, most of that, pretty much that whole first stint, he was stuck in traffic and behind mainly Kosuke Yamashima and Jake Sturgios. And now he's being held up behind Hugo Luis. And Hugo's not just going to let him past. I mean, Hugo, there's a reason why Hugo won the 2011 championship. So, I mean, this I reckon, and I'm hoping, if I'm honest, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that this turns into an absolute dogfight between our two champions. Speaking of dogfights, Mac Backen getting ever closer to the rear of Sebastian Job.
He is. Mac Backen slowly creeping in. A previous lap time of a 1 minute 38.448. 4/10 faster than the young gun Sebastian Job. For Mitchell de Jong though, he's approaching halfway distance. He's led almost every lap of this race except 2. During the pit stop phase, Bootloop led 1, Harpala the other one. So for Mitchell de Jong now, who rounds turn 16 on towards the wonderful turn 17 and 18. So easy to lose the car around here. And then turn 19, that blind braking point. He sweeps that car in, doesn't touch the anti-cut curbs. And then the final corner, the camber, really off here, and it's difficult to turn that car into the corner, but he crosses the line for halfway distance here, and he leads by 6.1 seconds ahead of Martin Kroenke, the man who is P2 in the championship. He has that all sealed. Jeremy Bootloop in third, 4.9 seconds behind Martin, 11 seconds away from the lead. Then it's Olli Pakala, 1.2 seconds behind Jeremy Bootloop. That could be a fight, waiting to take place in the closing stages of this event. Sebastian Job in 5th, and Mac Backen very close here. I think Sebastian Job is letting Mac Backen through. So, interesting there, Daniel. We're about to go to a commercial break, and they've completely ruined that for me. Sebastian Job has let through Mac Backen. I'm not sure why at the moment.
Yeah, to be honest, I think that was a smart move by Seb. I mean, he'll know how aggressive Mac is. I mean, obviously Apex Racing UK and Radicals do work together in setups and everything. So obviously Seb, realizing that Mac's faster and just letting him through. And saying that, Seb did close up quite a lot on the brakes into turn 11 there.
You would have thought at least he'd maybe put up a fight, but nevertheless, those two swap positions, Backen into 5th, Sebastian Job into 6th, then it's Hugo Luis, Gregor Hutu, those two champions fighting out for P7, and then rounding out the top 10 it's Ilka Hapala and Jake Sterios. Down the order, a few notable names: Umashima in 11th, Butcher 12th, Friskops on that one stop has not made his pit stop yet, is in 13th, then Richard Avery with his Movano Thrustmaster X team there in 14th position. His one of his first races for the team. We saw him at Interlagos as well, sporting the new livery there, so a new atmosphere for that man, who heads away that 14th position. Anton Higelin in 15th, Yoni Tamala 16th. Then down the order, Alex Simpson, Paul Ilbrink, Dion Verges, Yalvaz, Fernando Guerrero, Marti Piatella and Marin Kolak are the rest of the drivers who are currently running in this race. The rest of the DNFs, Benjamin Lindsay, Eunice Nukarainen, Isaac Price and Tomo Meglek, the 27 drivers all participating in today's event. We're going to step aside for a moment. We're hoping you're enjoying coverage of the final round for the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. It is at the Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and we'll be back shortly after these messages.
But here comes Gregor Hutu into Canada corner for the final time. Just 2 corners left to go before he finally makes himself a triumphant return back to victory lane. He has led 38 laps of this event here today, and Gregor Hutu once again is a winner. Gregor Hutu will work himself through the Cobra Parabolica. He will claim his 46th victory in iRacing.com World Championship competition. Gregor Hutu, for the 2nd race in a row, reigns supreme.
The one thing that I think is the most important is we've been racing this Ground Championship Series for quite some time now, a very long time even at that, and he is the only driver to have ever won a professional road race at Watkins Glen.
but there is nothing that could crack that finish number 1 Team Redline driver. Gregor Hutu worked himself out the final corner, and just as he did in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, in 2015, Hutu once again wins at Watkins Glen.
Hutu will come across the line and takes the win for round 7 here at Virginia International Raceway.
Here he comes now, just 3 corners left to go, into Brooklands for the final time, into Luffield for the final time. Never ever say that Gregor Hutu is beaten, because he just comes back bigger, he comes back stronger. He wins round number 9 of the World Championship Series, 49th win of his career. If you're the world's greatest sim racing driver, you can do it with your statements on the road courses. Do it when it matters. Out of the final corner for the final time, number 50 for Gregor Hutu, out of the final corner. At the top of the broadcast, we said if Hutu could win here today, he could well cement himself as the championship favourite. Gregor Hutu, the number 1 machine, back to victory lane, win number 51. Hutu is inching closer rapidly to his 5th, and yes, I say that correctly, his 5th World Championship. Out of the bus stop chicane comes the number 1 Team Redline driver. Gregor Hutu will win here at Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Yes, you may be behind a computer with a steering wheel and a set of pedals, but for these drivers, this is as close as they may ever get to racing in real life. It will be Gregor Hutu coming past the line. He is a 5-time world champion. Gregor Hutu wins the championship one more time. He is the greatest driver in the history of open wheel racing here at iRacing.com, and dare I say it, he is the greatest open wheel champion in the history of sim racing.
Welcome back, everybody, to the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, live from Austin, Texas, at the Circuit of the Americas in USA. At the Circuit of the America in USA. Dan, I've completely butchered our intro back into the broadcast, and I think at the moment not much going on the racetrack, which could play a part of it. But that's a very interesting decision there between Sebastian Job and Mac Backham. For Seb, who you might have a little bit of inside info, who's let Mac Backham through.
Yeah, gotta love inside info, gotta love goss. Just James Nash just on the YouTube comments saying letting Matt go to see if he can get his podium if Seb has the pace he can pass him in the stocks anyway. So obviously a bit of confidence in the Apex Racing UK team speak at the moment with Seb. Obviously, as I said earlier, Mac pretty much needs a podium, and that's if Dion Verges and Alex Simpson have a pretty horrible race to get enough points to make the top 25 in the championship. So really, Seb just playing the long game and playing it safe, seeing exactly how quick Mac Backham is.
I'll tell you one thing though, Daniel, Mac is going to regret that error he made trying to pass Hugo Luis at Suzuka. Not only did it cost him points in that race, but a suspended race penalty for the next round at Interlagos as well. And that could be, depending on how this race plays out, the decisive factor in whether Mac Backham gets a free entry into the 2016 World Championship or whether he has to fight it out in the Pro Series. So you see there, decision making and experience is something that will come to him through time. He only started sim racing in 2013, so for Mac Backham, only 2 years of experience, not much, and he's come a long way to be this fast.
To be honest, I reckon that mistake at Suzuka not possibly may have cost him. I think it did cost him a WC license essentially for next year.
And there we go, Andre Borcher as well, in P11 right now, very, very close to Kazuki Umeshima, and we always gloat about how Kazuki, what could have, should have, would have, whatever you want to say, at Montreal last year, as well as the fact that this race last year as well, whether he could have had that podium. But unfortunately making that mistake around about here as Bocha almost loses traction as well. So for Kazuki Umeshima, who as well had a little bit of contact coming towards the S's right now in some close battling. And here it was, Kazuki, who was bouncing around, flipping over. I'm surprised he was able to finish the race, Daniel, with all that damage to the race car. But this race out, Kazuki with another year of experience, surely not make any more contact this year around.
Well, he did have a rather large break sort of towards the beginning through the middle of this year, so not so much time to think, but time to like reconcile the positives and the negatives from his time in WCS and pro racing competition over the previous year and a half or so. But now so far, got about a second at the Sturgis. He's just dropped back a little bit, and he's got Borcher right behind him. It looks like actually wasn't really into turn 13, but it looked like into turn 12 that car just understeered a little bit. So we'll see how that develops as in the next few laps. It may have just been the camera angle. I'm not 100% sure because it looks fine now. Maybe he just carried a little too much speed. Who knows? But yeah, he seems similar to Seb. I find Kazuki just Kazuki got a little sideways, and then Borcher got a bit more sideways coming out of the last corner then. So obviously Borcher's pushing hard to put pressure on Kazuki.
I think dirty air as well plays a little bit of a part in that. And another man with a lot of dirty air is Olli Pakala. He's in 4th position. He's right behind Jeremy Boothloop. He was under a second crossing the line, but now he's 1.4 seconds away from him. So you see through that S's section, from turn 3 to turn 9, is where you lose a lot of time trying to sweep the car in, ensuring those roll bars are set well, you know, lots of front grip as well as rear grip for traction out of corners. And for Olli Pakala, he's lost around about half a second in one sector, just simply from dirty air, and maybe throwing a mistake in there as well.
Yeah, it'd be more than likely from dirty air. It's very hard to go through that as is following another car at the speeds that these guys are travelling at the sort of room that they're leaving to these sleeping policemen. We saw De Jong and his pole lap leave pretty much no room. I'll say probably 3 mil. But it is hard to drive these cars in dirty air, particularly like a rhythm through a rhythm section like Sector 1 here at COTA, through like turns 1, pretty much turns 1 all the way through to turn 9 is all rhythm, and it's very hard to have dirty air, particularly when you're used to clean air and like being able to go through it at your pace and knowing where your turning marks are, where your apexes are. But having that dirty air completely changes the situation.
Certainly does, as Mac Backham there in 5th position has 12.5 seconds to make up towards Olli Pakala. It's 13.7 seconds to a podium here. So he's got a lot of effort to really push. Oh, Sebastian Job, I've been watching him lately. He's still pushing to the limit. He almost lost the car there on the exit of turn 9. Now, another battle I want to look at is Hugo Luis and Mitchell de Jong for 4th and 5th in the championship. Now, I don't think Mitchell will be able to clip Hugo here, because Hugo will still give a nice points haul to himself in 7th position. But for Mitchell with a win, he's done everything he possibly could. He has missed a few races as well, part-time schedule, but he's run, he's had 12 starts coming into this round. This is his 13th of 16th, so only 3 rounds missed. So when he says part-time schedule, he's essentially raced almost, a majority of the races this year, and that could be the decisive factor between him getting 4th in the championship, maybe 3rd from Pakala, and now he's currently going to finish in 5th.
Yeah, obviously, part-time schedule for Mitchell, having run the Rebel Global Rallycross this year, and hence his part-time schedule was there. I can't go in the pit lane. No, there wasn't. Seeing things like usual. But yeah, obviously De Jong running GRC this year and being rather successful in that, and he's he's been rather successful in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series so far. A 6.5 second lead at the line over his teammate Martin Kroenke, on his way to what looks like is going to be his third win of the season. And I'm interested to see what Picolo's going to do with Bootalip here for third, Johnny.
Yeah, be very interesting. It's oscillating a lot, that gap. It's creeping in below a second, then it goes out to 1.1.5, 1.6, 1.7, even 2 seconds at one point. So that gap, bouncing around. So we'll see what Ollie can do. Maybe even run longer, but his pit stop time was 0.4 of a second faster than Jeremy Bootalip. So that suggests that he's carrying a little bit less fuel than the Radicals Online driver in P3. So that's an interesting conundrum that he'll have to face towards the end of this race, with 19 laps remaining as Mitchell de Jong crosses the line. The Petit Le Mans is live on iRacing Live. Will Vincent and Rachel Whiteford commentating on that at the moment. Switch over at the conclusion of this event for the next few hours to watch drivers race around Road Atlanta. Should be a thrilling conclusion. As always, the Road Warrior Series producing some great races throughout 2015. And here we go now. 6.6 seconds to Martin Kroenke. Mitchell de Jong with a 37.9 last time around. Now we're in that 2-stop range here. The second stop for some of these drivers. We should see him in the next few laps, Daniel.
Yeah, maybe we'll get a little bit of action. Speaking of action, there's actually a rather nice battle here going on for 18th, 19th and 20th between Verges, Vaz and Piatella. Now I wonder if Vaz is trying to help Verges as much as he can here and just hold Piatella up, make sure that he's not going to get past into his teammate, just to give Dion these couple of extra points he might need to secure a top 25 position.
That's something we've been looking at quite a lot throughout the years, or throughout the conclusion of the year, is the top 25 position. And drivers who haven't made it, drivers we can confirm that will be in the Pro Series if they choose to race: Yao Vaz, Yuhu Abe, we know Rico Alatalo, who never seems to practice, and he's got the potential to be great, but he doesn't seem to use it. But he'll be exciting to see anyway towards the Pro Series at the end of the year. Paolo Mulia, Fulvio Barazini, who, Daniel, has won a World Championship race, that infamous Indianapolis event. And another man we have to look out for, a new guy from the Grand Prix Series, Marin Kolak, who's racing here today. And he's ahead of Fernando Guerrero. Fernando as well, another driver we'll see out there on November the 7th. And there's a lot of drivers. Now, I'd say Kirchhoff's another man, Daniel, who's achieved his World Championship license by basically doing, 2-3 races in the Pro Series. He's only raced in one or two events this year. Sorry, one event. I'm reading the wrong guy. That's Christian Tanahote. He's raced in one event this year. So if I'd say, do you really think that he should be allowed to continue on, whether he's using that World Championship slot and not utilizing it every single round?
In reality, the iRacing officials have no say in it, or no control over it, because, Atsy's got enough points. He's been in the top 25 in the Pro Series, therefore he gets a WC license, and you can't really do anything about it. That's just the way that the system works, whether the driver decides to use it or not. At the same time, I know I close to getting a pro license, and it's in a way annoying. And I'll talk to one of our pro drivers in Apex Racing UK, Peter Berryman, and he gets frustrated seeing WCS drivers like Riku, like Atsy, not using their WCS license. So yeah, it does get frustrating, but it's the system in reality.
Mitchell de Jong and Martin Kroenke, the two leaders, enter the pit lane. 17 laps remaining, so hopefully a clean pit stop for these two. They've had such a clean and boring race though, but boring races, clean races means race wins, and a 1-2 finish potentially here for Coanda Simsport. A very quick pit stop for Mitchell de Jong. Martin Kroenke the same as he exits his box. 8.5 seconds each for their pit stop times. Kroenke actually a few tenths faster as well, so maybe that will swing his way in the next 17 laps. So another Suzuka battle going on. We know Kroenke towards the end of that race had a little bit of a poor end. Could have potentially had a win, but De Jong in the end claimed it. And Mitchell de Jong proving once again that he's not just another driver at Coanda. He's a driver to be reckoned with. And I mean, if Hugo can find his form as well from his rookie season where he won the World Championship, you know, they have three very, very strong drivers there. And not to mention the other drivers in the team down the order. You know, you consider Bocha, Piatella, who are racing out there as well. They're guys that contribute day in and day out to help the setup of this car. Now, Olli Pakala and Jeremy Bootloop continue, and it's not just setup, I should say. It's a lot of team chemistry, getting along, doing all that other stuff off the track. So Bootloop and Pakala continue, and we'll see if they'll pit this time around. Still a lot of time to go for these two stop guys, and we'll see where Mac Backham feeds out, because he is currently down there in P11.
Just looking at, so who's Max around? He's got a bit clear out behind Richard Avery ahead of Anton Hegland. But Louise did pit on that last lap, so it's released Gregor Hutu. But Coanda time being Coanda timing, Hutu must be loving the rear wing of Coanda cars, because Kroenke's actually come out right in front of him. So I think Kroenke will be trying to help his teammate a bit here. Louise, that is, by just holding Gregor up and making sure Gregor doesn't get a big of an overcut as he normally would. As a Bootloop coming out of the pit lane in the background, just coming out behind Sturgios, but ahead of Fat Pakala, I should say, coming out as well. So they return as they came in, I should say. Ahead of Hapala as well. Who else is in? Avery's not in. Sebastian Job,
Kazuki Mishima.
Just ahead of Hegland. So he's still ahead of Louise. So Mishima comes out behind Louise, and he's going to be racing Borcha here. Now, this is going to be true. Borcha's got the momentum around the outside. So I think he'll take the position, and he will take the position away from Kazuki Mishima. Mishima will now have the dirty air with cold tyres, and he will not be able to keep up to that Coanda car through here. In fact, he's actually doing it quite well, even though I just said that. So Kazuki proved me completely wrong. It'll be interesting to see, because look, in fact, he's held on to that Radicals, that Coanda car quite well. Obviously, Omashima is in the Radicals car, not Andre Borcha. He's definitely close enough to Borcha. Borcha darts to the left to try and break the slipstream. Darts back to the right. Is Omashima going to be close enough? He's going to have a look, but that will be all.
No move for Kazuki Umeshima, who now maybe up the inside. No, he doesn't. Don't get too excited, Daniel. He's not going to throw it up, although we expect it from a guy like Kazuki Umeshima, who is a very entertaining driver to watch. I know he has plenty of fans out there. And Andre Bocha that time, coming out of the pit lane, was Kazuki. And then Andre comes through on the outside. Now, the other time around, it was Andre on the inside making contact with Hugo, his teammate. So Andre, it's not like he wasn't experienced in that situation. He knew to run wide and give space. As other drivers entering the pit lane, I think that's Jake Sterios, who's exited away. Richard Avery as well. And I'm just having a look down the list as well. Where's Sebastian Jobs? So Sebastian Jobs in P8. So obviously a few drivers in front still haven't made their stop. But that's Ilkka Haapala and Gregor Hutu there in third position. Now, Hutu we're expecting in soon, and I'm pretty sure this may help Hutu. He is stuck behind Kroenke here. But Hutu with his 9.3 second pit stop first time around, if he can maybe go a little bit longer, we're expecting him due to that long pit stop time, he can jump Hugo Luis here. So the gap between Gregor Hutu and Hugo is 29 seconds. Now that's around about where you'd expect Hutu to feed out, so this will be a very interesting event to take place here with 15 laps remaining in this event.
Well, here Gregor was 7 tenths quicker than Louise last time around, but I think Hugo's got a few other things on his mind, because Jake Sturgios has rejoined the pit lane, I should say, right behind him. And he got really close to him going into turn 11. He wasn't able to turn it into a move going down the back straight and into turn 12, though. As I'm from my insider, James Nash, I'm getting that Hutu is not coming in. You lied to me. You lied to me, James. Why would you do such a thing? Going back to what I was saying, Louise has who is it? Sturgios all over the back of him. He's in fact, Sturgios has dropped back a little bit now. That Coanda car doesn't seem to feel as nice, or doesn't look as nice as it did earlier on. It seems to be a little loose whenever Hugo uses that inside curve through the last corner, and Sturgios closed up just a little bit going through turn 1 then.
He did indeed, so we're waiting for Gregor Hutu to make that stop, and we know he will be a little bit longer this stint due to that pit stop time as we mentioned earlier. And at the moment, the Petit Le Mans going on across the scenes here at iRacing, and Will Vincent, it's been a great event over there, surely at Round Road Atlanta.
Indeed it is, as it is currently the Vortex Sim Racing team leading by 7.5 seconds over the Radicals Online organisation in your LMP division. Vortex Sim Racing have come through the field to take command of their position. In the GT category, it is Coanda Sim Sports leading already by almost a minute over Red Devolution Racing, as they, Coanda Sim Sports, continue to show they are mighty in GT racing.
There you go, Petit Le Mans. Check that out on iRacing Live in collaboration with RaceSpotTV. Another very good event for the Road Warrior Series this season, and we've had many of them out throughout the year. The Pro Series as well, another event we'll see on November the 7th. Stay tuned for more information on that through social media streams. But for now, we'll step aside here. You're watching the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series live on RaceSpotTV with 13 laps remaining. We'll see you shortly after these messages.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time.
It's been a very long off-season. Teams have changed, sponsors have changed, colors and all, but one thing that hasn't, they like to mash the loud pedal. Green flag is out on the 2015 NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series season.
iRacing is the ideal platform for these broadcasts because we have the best racers, the best online racers in the world, and we have such a variety of racing from NASCAR to Grand Prix style racing, sports car, endurance racing. We do it all.
Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. Great start then by COTA from the front. They're packing up behind number one. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn number 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see them funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone is just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel.
Side by side going into turns 3 and 4. Humpy's got the advantage, but Ottinger's not going to.
Oh, he got into him!
Ottinger gets into the 58, turns right into him, and that ends Ottinger's run.
We do a lot of live broadcasts now. Every Tuesday is NASCAR night, so on alternating Tuesdays we do the Peak Antifreeze Series, and on the other Tuesdays the B-Class Series, which is the Xfinity cars, and sometimes we'll even do some short track racing depending on the schedule. Every other Saturday we do the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, so the best road racers we have. And we also broadcast some special events, including the Endurance Championship, which is part of the Road Warriors Series. So we broadcast the Daytona 24, the Sebring 12-hour, we'll do the Watkins Glen 6-hour, there's several other races along there. And then, of course, the iRacing Pro Racing Champions, which is usually our biggest and most watched event of the year.
That is short track racing, and that's how awesome this sim is, Joe. That's something you see on TV on highlight reels, and we just saw it here, live.
We invite iRacers who are real-world racers. They compete every December. Guys like Alex Gurney, Justin Wilson, Scott Speed, Ron Capps, the list goes on. Really some big-name drivers from all major forms of motorsport. It's really neat to see them get together and race together.
See Laughlin up top, down to the ball, gets turned! Laughlin gets turned! Caution is out foul at the front of the field!
The easiest place to find the broadcast is on our website, iRacing.com/live. So you can find some of our races on fanschoice.tv as well. A nice place to find iRacing broadcasts.
You can also find it at mrn.com and peakauto.com.
Welcome back to the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, the final round taking place at the Circuit of the Americas near Austin, Texas, USA. The laser scan version here today for the world's best sim racers, fighting it out with 9 laps remaining in this event. Gregor Hutu making his pit stop while we were away, jumping Hugo Luis for P7. At the moment, we look at Hutu in P7. He's really hounding Sebastian Job here, Daniel, for that 6th position. And I think Seb letting through Mac Backham, this is coming back to haunt him here.
Yeah, quite possibly. Would have been interesting to see if Mac was still behind Seb for the situation right now with Gregor putting Sebastian Job under a bit of pressure. Mac's only about 3 to 4 seconds up the road. So if Gregor can get past the young Brit early on, he might even be able to have a go at Mac in the last few laps of the race, but he's finding it a little difficult now that he's in the dirty air.
Ollie Pakula as well, hounding Bootloop for that final podium position. And Jeremy Bootloop, Radicals Online will be proud of him if he can grab a podium here this afternoon. Bootloop, in my opinion, the most improved driver of the season, finished 24th in the standings in 2014, fighting his way at this race last year to just achieve a free pass through for a license in 2015. And now he's well up the order in the championship. Some great results. Currently 9th coming into this round. He's been at Radicals since 2012, early 2012, towards the start of that season. So he's a long-time member of that team. They know him well. A lot of them get along. And Pakula right now does not care about any of that. He wants P3 with 8 laps remaining.
Just a little we know about the battle for the top 25 in the championship. Just a little mass, I guess. So if Dion finishes where he is, currently P20, and Mac needs to finish 3rd in this race, which doesn't really look like it's going to happen, does it really? And if Dion drops to 22nd, so Vaz and Kolak go past, Mac needs to get to the back of Oli Piccola and past him, as now Gregor all over the back of Sabre going through into the S's. Wilson, oh! That's not a place where you want to go side by side.
Oh, very close there, as Gregor Hutu plays with fire, so does Sebastian Job, and they both live for another day, as Hutu stays back in formation for P7, and there's nothing to lose. He's the champion for 2015 5 times in the history of the competition. Hugo, the only other winner, we always mention it as we look at the standings for you. Mitchell Dionke, actually, nevertheless, we'll look at that later because Hutu's had an incredible run on. Sebastian Job here with 8 laps remaining into the slipstream around the outside. Job defends that inside line, and Hutu under braking. Look at the confidence. He keeps it together and he snatches P6 away from Sebastian Job, and that letting through Mac Backham there for Sebastian Job, that will kill him. That will come back to haunt him now after the race. Not only has he lost P5, but he's come and fallen into the clutches of the 5-time world champion. And lesson learnt there for Sebastian Job. You can be nice to other people, but it's not going to pay off well for you come the end of the race.
I think Seb's just being safe. I mean, he knows Gregor's faster because he's got newer he's got the newest tyres in the field, right? Because he pitted so much later than everyone else. Next on his list is Mac Backham. He has 7 laps to catch 4.1 seconds and pass Mac Backham, and I can guarantee you Mac Backham will not let the 5-time world champion pass. So, come the last 2 or 3 laps, I think this is going to be rather interesting.
It certainly will, as with 7 laps remaining, Mitchell de Jong leads by 10.3 seconds ahead of Martin Kroenke, Jeremy Boodloop in 3rd. Don't forget the Pro Series, where the drivers who didn't make the top 25 in the World Championship will fight it out for those final remaining 25 licenses for 2016. That starts on November the 7th for 71 laps of racing around Interlagos as the drivers battle it out, as we mentioned, for those final license spots. The drivers such as Mitchell de Jong, who's currently leading this race, earned his way through the field as he did last year. He had that very clean, almost won every race except for Watkins Glen, Daniel.
Sorry to jump in, Johnny, but Jake Sturgios is on the inside of Hugo Louise going into turn 12 right now. So now Hugo's got the inside for turn 13. They're going to go side by side. Hugo getting up on the curve. That's not... Oh! Hugo's sideways coming through turn 14, and that's going to give Sturgios 8th position.
There we go. Hugo Louise on the brink of losing that car. Excellent car control, but he falls down the order, and Jake Sturgios up into P8, Hugo in P9. And once again, we look at that replay there. So for Hugo Louise at the moment, you can see, quite easily, Dan, on that straight, which aids overtaking, despite Hugo's perfect exit, Sturgios in that INX car, they've always got the top speed. And once again, I mean, he just sails past the Coanda Simsport car, which doesn't seem to have the top speed.
Yeah, they managed to somehow trim a little more ring out of those INX cars, and that's why they're so quick in a straight line. And just, it didn't, it's not the reason why Jake made the move stick, but it's what set him up for the move a few corners later. So a nice move there from Sturgios.
Anyway, we'll do that Pro Series plug once again. 7th of November, do not miss it. Every race live on RaceSpotTV. It'll be a thrilling event. We saw Mitchell de Jong win every single race last time out, except for the one at Watkins Glen, but that counted as his drop week. So essentially, he had a perfect season. Will we see that happen again? Big names this time out for another year. Okay, stay tuned for 71 laps around Interlagos. Do not forget the Petit Le Mans also being broadcasted. Stay tuned for after the conclusion of this race. There's only 5 laps remaining. Don't leave us. Plenty of post-race interviews to go as well. And I guess with 5 laps remaining, Daniel, these drivers settling into formation. Now, it hasn't been the most thrilling race of all. Strategy's taken, played a big part as well. But I think a big key as well is, I'm a big fan of him, Alexei Usiakula. He's not here today. He finished 4th out there in Interlagos last time around. less than around 8 seconds or 7 seconds away from the win. He's a guy who would have been mixing it up there with those two Coanda SimSport guys, in my opinion, had he been here today. Yes, he's not the most consistent driver, but, you know, on a day when he's performing well. We've seen that this season. 2 race wins to start off the season. I guess that's what I'm missing at the moment. A guy like him who can take it to those two dominant drivers of Mitchell de Jong and Martin Kroenke.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, I just got caught up mid-sentence. I think also it's been particularly hard to pass with the dirty air with this car of recent times. So I don't think that's helped in terms of the drivers making overtakes, and saying that Hutu just pulled off an absolute blinder on Seb as he's trying to hunt down Mac Backham now, but it's not really happening. So I think Mac might have 5th wrapped up. In saying that, I probably spoke too early, and now Gregor's going to take half a second out of him. Anyway, I mean, Pakal has been stuck behind Bootsloop for the whole race, and he hasn't managed to get close enough to be able to make the move on Bootsloop. So I'm not sure if it's a setup thing or what it is, but it just seems that the dirty air is having a bit more of an impact than it usually does in this recent build.
Mac Backham again running very wide at that penultimate corner. He's had a strong race though, P5. Don't forget to check out my all-new podcast, the Simon Racing Report. Search it up on YouTube. It will be out there on SoundCloud as well. Stay tuned. Episode 1 next week. I thought I'd throw that in there as a bit of, well, selfless promotion. So, yeah, very greedy by me. But nevertheless, with 4 laps remaining in this event. Now, what I want to allude to here is Mitchell de Jong. 3 race wins if he keeps it together over the next few laps. He's going to join the likes of Atsei Kirchhoff, join the likes of Alexei Usiakala in his rookie season as well. Yes, he did have a few races last year, but this is his official rookie season, the first one where he's officially has a World Championship license to his name. So for Mitchell, I mean, if he runs a full-time schedule next year, do you really think he can win this championship? Because I'm having a look at guys that can take it to Hutu and Kroenke next year. I'm thinking of Bootsloop at this rate of progress. If he improves next year, he'll be one of them. Mitchell de Jong, of course, there's no doubt about it. And the rate of progress of Sebastian Job's skill level. I mean, how will that fare over the off-season? He should certainly be practicing a lot.
Yeah, going for Mitchell, I think it's just an unfortunate thing is that we'll never see him run a full-time schedule. In terms of Seb, I mean, he's got many years to mature, to fine-tune his driving style, his racecraft, his setup work. So, I mean, Seb can become, I reckon, given the right circumstances, I reckon Seb will win a race next year. And I honestly think that just being out of his rookie season in WCS, having a season's experience in what the racing's like at each track and qualifying, etc., I think Seb could win a race next year. But it's sort of the unfortunate thing with Mitchell is, like, with GRC, the global rallycross that he runs in real life, as a Red Bull athlete and everything, he can't he can't run a full-time schedule, and in a way it sort of means that we're missing out on something.
Yeah, and I think when you mention that Sebastian Job taking a race win next year, it'll be interesting to see the team atmosphere as well. I mean, hopefully, I'm assuming, Daniel, that Seb is going to be continuing with Apex Racing UK, because surely he's going to be on the market for a few of those top teams, such as Coanda, such as Redline, who are, you know, maybe trying to snatch up the young gun if they do believe that he has the talent. You know, I mean, who knows? Maybe one of those teams don't believe he's a driver for the future, despite his young age and future potential and development. So, I mean, I don't know if you have any inside info on that, but I might as well ask you anyway.
Well, I mean, obviously being on the other side of the freaking wheel, which is sort of annoying. I'm not on every night, and I only really talk to the guys on the weekends while they're on during the day. So, I'm hoping Seb's loyal to the team and stays with us. But if he decides, if he decides to run with Coanda or run with Redline, if he gets offered a seat with those two teams, he's free to go. Alex is very open to that. Obviously, Alex is also the team manager of Apex Racing UK. For those playing at home that might not know that, Alex is very open to that. He understands Sad's talent and everything, and he does have a lot of talent. It's just fine tuning that skill.
Certainly is. So a lot of practice to go for some of these drivers, and here we go. Mitchell de Jong, who will begin the final lap of the event. It's been a lights to flag finish for him, Daniel. A very clean and consistent race.
Yeah, I mean, a typical Mitchell de Jong race. We saw it at Sebring as well, when I think that was the last race I commentated, actually, was Sebring. But, I mean, the same thing happened. He absolutely flawless race, and once again here as he goes on to the final lap now.
He does indeed. So Mitchell de Jong rounding that first sector, the very difficult one. Hasn't hit an anti-cut curve this race that has damaged the car, and that's because he leads the race. So, I mean, clear and consistent. We saw in his qualifying lap as well. Very pure, and he's pushing to the limit. Very strong race for him. I think this is the best race we've seen from Mitchell de Jong. And with this race win, he'll join Artse Kirkov, Alexei Usiakala, two guys with 3 race wins on the all-time list. And don't forget, this is Mitchell's rookie season, his official rookie season with a World Championship license, as he closes in on a few lap cars here on turn 12, turn 13. His teammate Martin Kroenke behind has tried to give him pressure, but he's slowly fallen back down the order as the race has progressed. Martin Kroenke 13.5 seconds away from Mitchell here, but as Mitchell de Jong, with only a few more corners to go, will finish the season off with a win, carry momentum into the off-season, into 2016 for Coanda SimSport. Mitchell de Jong, one more corner to go, and here we go. Mitchell de Jong wins the final round at Circuit of the Americas near Austin, Texas. It's been an incredible race from Mitchell. Lights to flag, very easy for him, very clean, very calm, and a well-deserved result, as Martin Kroenke will now also cross the line in second position. Delighted, I'd say, at least with a nice clean result to finish the season. Jeremy Boothloop more than ecstatic with his podium there in P3. Ollie Pakula just couldn't do it in the end. Between him and Jeremy Boothloop, could not get that podium position in P3. Mac Backham in 5th right now, crosses the line, so he gets a top 5 result. I don't think that's enough to garner a top 25 position in the championship, as Hutu, our champion, also crosses the line in 6th position, starting from 13th. Behind him, Sebastian Job. Another poor start to the race, which really cost him again this time around, as a few drivers down the order here, Daniel.
Hapala's just spun coming out of the last corner. Well, he won't lose a position for it, but Hapala actually just spun coming out of the last corner in the lot.
Oh, have a look at this. Piatella and Paul Ilbrink, sorry to cut you off. Huge contact there. And Paul Ilbrink saves the car. But those two coming out will hopefully get a replay of that. They're fighting for 15th and 16th. Piatella had an amazing cutback. Ilbrink tried to save the inside line for himself. And there we go. Piatella, all 4 wheels on the curb, Daniel. Giving a little bit of contact to Paul. And I'm not sure who's at fault for the incident. In the end, though, across the line, I believe Piatella has let through Paul Ilbrink for that position.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Obviously, Marty's felt that he's at fault for that, so he's let Paul through just before the start-finish line. But he's obviously near the rush to get across. He did it at the last minute, so Alex Simpson didn't gain a position. He finished 18th, Friscops 19th, and Burgos rounding out the top 20. So I believe that means Simpson and Verges will be in the top 20, top 25, I should say, in the championship, and Mac Backham will just miss out.
Burnouts from Mitchell de Jong here on the front straight. Delighted with his 3rd career victory in the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. As I mentioned, well deserved for the American, the young gun, proving his worth here for his team, for Coanda Simsport. Martin Kroenke in second. I mean, we could say that wasn't the best race for him, but you know, for his standards, he wants to be winning. But then again, I mean, he finished second, and I think a lot of drivers would be delighted with that. But as we finally look at the final standings, it is Mitchell de Jong taking that win ahead of Martin Kroenke, 13.5 seconds ahead. Jeremy Boutloop, 15 seconds ahead, or behind, I should say, Mitchell de Jong for the win. Just gets that podium and snatches it away from Olli Pakala in the final stages. Mac Backham from 14th on the grid to 5th, a great race for him. 35 seconds away from the lead, and then Gregor Hutu right behind, also a man who's made up positions, 13th to 6th. Not as much as Mac, but still made up positions. Sebastian Job, as we mentioned, another poor start, and he's fallen down the order, and that cost him in the early stages of the race. He finishes in 7th. Jake Sterios in 8th. Hugo Luis in 9th. Kazuki Umeshima, who we should really give our hats off to, a 10th place finish, a top 10. Wonderful job from him. Down the order, Andre Bocher finishes 11th. Ilka Hapala 12th. Richard Avery 13th. We look at a few other drivers. Higelin in 14th as well. Tomala. Those are guys who are just confirmed to get top 25 results. We'll look at the championship afterwards. And as well as we look on your screen, the rest of the drivers who finished that race. A few drivers a lap down. That was Yao Vaz, Marin Kolak, Fernando Guerrero. We know Kolak and Guerrero are Pro Series drivers. We'll see in a month's time. And the DNFs for this race: Benjamin Lindsay, Eunice Nukarainen, Isaac Price, and Tomo Meglek. Finally, we'll step aside. We'll be back for post-race coverage and to conclude the season quite in a classy way, you could say. So do not leave us. We'll be back shortly after these messages. It's been a thrilling race here. You're watching the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series live on RaceSpotTV.
For iRacing to get Le Mans is huge. I mean, this is a unique event, a unique track where, you know, half of the track is public road, so you can never test on it, you never get experience on it, and it's 8 miles in length, 4-minute lap time in a GT car. So, you know, even if you're here for an hour of testing, that's only 15 laps, and you're only going to see the corner 15 times that day. The first section going through the Dunlop area is pretty unique. You know, it's got elevation change and off camber. Then you go down Mulsanne into the chicanes, and you know, the straights are unbelievably long. It's a tricky track, and you know, every year I've come here, this being my 4th year, you learn something new every time.
We've wanted to add Le Mans to iRacing for a long time, and we've really been working hard towards it for the last 5 years. But really, things only came together in the last week leading up to this race, so it was a real scramble to put everything together. The majority of Le Mans is public roads, so when they're preparing for the 24-hour race, it's really the only time that we can visit to laser scan and photograph the track so that we can recreate it in iRacing. We work closely with the ACO to get essentially exclusive access to the facility and everything that we needed to get the laser scanning and photographic reference that we need to create the track. We were very fortunate to be at Le Mans at the most important time of the year and gain that experience of being there. And we're going to really do the best we can to put that into our work and making sure that the Le Mans in iRacing is the best Le Mans, the most exciting and accurate recreation of the track possible.
We're so excited to be bringing the Nürburgring to everybody. It's by far the most requested track that we've ever had. I've been with iRacing since the beginning. I can't tell you how many people I've met at trade shows or racetracks and demos that we've done all across the United States and even in Europe, and it's always the most requested track that we've had. And it's always been kind of a sad answer, no, we don't have it. When are you bringing it? And we never really had a good answer. And obviously we announced this last year, and it's super exciting. I mean, it really is one of the premier tracks in the entire world.
The Nürburgring, to me as a race fan, is the holy grail of racetracks. Even from the gaming aspect, just getting that car around that track was a personal achievement by itself. It's kind of got this iconic status to it that makes it different than any other track in the world.
We actually have a lot of history with the Nürburgring dating back about 20 years. We created a version of the track for Grand Prix Legends, which was a Formula One simulation for the PC. But this will be the first time that we've worked on the track with laser scan data, highly precise measurements, and of course the iRacing standards of quality. So we're really excited about this project and we can't wait to release it. There are two main facilities at Nürburgring. There's the Grand Prix course, which is basically a modern F1 style racetrack. And then there's the Nordschleife itself, which has been around for decades. And of course the combined course, where you can take the Grand Prix course, drive around it, and then there's a point where you branch off onto the Nordschleife and you continue there all the way around the Nordschleife and then back down to the Grand Prix course. And the end result is an extremely large, unique racetrack. We arrived with a really large crew. Actually, 4 of us made the trip, and we spent a week there photographing the track, taking video recordings of the racetrack, the surroundings, the scenery, the towns. And when it's all said and done, we returned home with a massive amount of data. If you took our largest project ever, this is probably 4 times that size. So it's going to take a lot of work, but it's really our plan and our intent not to cut any corners and really produce and create the best version of the Nürburgring possible that we can. The terrain and topography of the area that surrounds the Nürburgring is really important to the character and accuracy and feel of the track. We're really working on new ways and methods and types of data that we can use to build the best topography and best terrain model possible. And it will be something never before seen in iRacing or racing sims in general. We have a laser scan of the track, and that laser scan is incredibly dense. Essentially, there's so many points that you could take a quarter and lay it on the laser points, and the quarter wouldn't fall through. So we're taking that level of detail from the scan, and we're trying to translate that into what you see in the sim.
You won't find the level of detail that we bring to tracks anywhere else. You guys expect that from us, and we'll continue to do that. It's not just purely laser scanned. It really will have personality, and I think that that's what's going to make our track unique.
Welcome back, everybody, to the final round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. The 2015 season is all but concluded, and we're sitting with the man who takes that final race win of the season, and that is you, Mr. Mitchell de Jong. Another lights to flag finish for this race. I mean, it surely must have been pretty boring out there for you with a 13.5 second win.
Yeah, thank you. That was such a fun race. Going into qualifying, I definitely wasn't expecting that lap, but it worked out and even better than practice. So I just kind of thought to myself on the start, just try to run a clean race and not take too many big risks. And it paid off in the end. It was a bit intense just trying to manage the gap to Martin because obviously he was really fast. It worked out in the end.
Now, by the way, obviously I was joking about it being a boring race. You're going to enjoy every win. Nevertheless, we look at the start of the race. Now, interesting you didn't have the best of starts off the line. And I mean, were you fazed by the attack from your teammate Martin? I mean, did you think that he might have got you around the outside? But, you know, in the end, you stayed cool anyway, come to the exit of turn 1 and then on towards turn 2.
Yeah, start definitely wasn't the best. And for some reason in practice, I could pretty much do every start without any mistakes, and then as soon as I got in the race, just immediate wheel spin. So I saw that we were just kind of side by side, and I had a pretty good idea that I was going to come out ahead, just staying to the inside. But it was a pretty intense first lap. You know, the setup I was running, it was a bit slow on the out lap. It takes a lap or two to get up to its pace, and I was running a very different setup from Martin, and I knew that he could really catch me in the slower corners. So yeah, it was just trying to make sure I stay ahead on the first lap, and then after that, just try to run a clean race.
Finally, commitments for 2016. Are you going to run a full-time schedule, or are real-life racing commitments going to get in the way?
It's tough to say at the moment. More than likely, I'll have to miss some more races than even this past year. So that's a bit unfortunate, but yeah, we'll have to see.
Oh, good. Mitchell de Jong there. Any thank yous finally I should let you say as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks to my teammates for the awesome season. I mean, you know, to run 16 weeks, or 16 races rather, and stay motivated to constantly build setups and test for 2 weeks at a time. It's super awesome just to have people like that are so fast to run with constantly. And so big thank you to my teammates and the team, for Racer and Warren Design and RaceSpot, and Leo Bodner. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mitchell de Jong, a 3-time career iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series winner, joins the likes of Alexei Usiakala and Atsei Kirchhoff with those 3 race wins in his rookie season. Don't forget, he goes into next year, into his sophomore year, you could say, over there in the US if you'd like to. But nevertheless, we focus our attention on the 3rd place finisher, Jeremy Bootloop, who's standing aside with Daniel Benefield.
Hey Jeremy, obviously a very good run in qualifying 3rd, and then finishing there as well. A nice consistent race behind Martin Kroenke. Just give us a rundown, obviously, of your racing behind the 2 Coanda cars up ahead.
Well, thank you. It went perfectly today. I mean, the Simula Radicals car was just really nice, really fast. So qualifying went well, even though it wasn't my PB. It was still a decent lap, but I was quite surprised to actually be P3, so it was good. And as for the race, that was really a tough race because I had pressure from Oli all race long, so I really had to stay calm and hit my lines, hit my marks. So I managed not to make any big mistakes so that he could catch me and have a go at P3. So yeah, really happy about my first podium in the series. It's been a while. I've been waiting for that for a long time. So yeah, quite enjoyable, I have to say.
We saw you go a bit longer than the other Radicals guys like Mac and Paul. I mean, throughout the race, was that more of your decision, or was that always the plan within the team?
That's always been the plan for me. I thought that Mac and Paul strategy were maybe slightly too short, so I figured I would go heavier. And even when I saw that I was going to start 3rd, I thought that I shouldn't change the strategy last moment because that's never good. So I just I kept it, and it worked pretty well because it turns out that Oli had the same, so he really could never leapfrog me, which was probably one of the key of my race.
Anyway, congratulations, I should say, on holding on to 3rd place there ahead of Oli Picala. And it's back to you, Johnny.
And I'm standing aside with that 4th place finisher, Oli Pacala. So, Oli, now I could feel your frustration that race. That gap between you and Jeremy oscillating all the time, within 1 second, then to 1 to 2 seconds. you just could not find a way past the Frenchman, and surely it must have been a frustrating race for you. What was the lack of pace, or what was the reason for the lack of pace for Team Redline here this afternoon?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear from my voice. I'm a bit sick. I have a flu, pretty massive flu or something like that, so it was pretty difficult to push. But yeah, Jeremy did good job. He was fast in the second sector, where all the dirty air affects the most, so he got just enough gap in the second sector, so I couldn't attack him in the back straight. I was a bit faster in the last sector, but he did the last turn pretty well, so Jeremy defended well, and yeah, I started preparing myself to this race yesterday because I've been busy with my work, so that's the main reason. Guys did well, good job though, so they were fast.
Now, obviously you sound like you're dead, so I don't want to make you talk for too long, but I have to ask you this question, and a serious one is, you've concluded the season, along with Hugo, with no race wins to your name. Now for Hugo, it's the first time out in his career without a race win. For you, of course, as well, 2 wins last year. This year, no race wins. So another year, or a year with 0 wins, is that going to affect your mindset into next year? Or do you think that, you still improved as a driver, luck just didn't go your way?
Yeah, obviously when I didn't win this season, no race. So the hunger for victories are much more to the next year. So I will fight for the victory even more next year than this year. But overall, if you think I gained about 100 points more than last season, this season, so I've been improving a lot. I had a few bad races at the start of the season, and yeah, there went the championship battle. But overall, I've been improving a lot, and I hope I keep up the improvements. And next year, with the new car and hopefully some new tracks and qualifying system and so on, I will be faster, and I know that I will fight even more than this year for the victories.
Final thank yous, as always, the guys from the bar, hopefully, who are watching.
Yeah, I hope Owen and the guys are around enjoying themselves with the whiskeys again. Greetings to the bar owner as well. And yeah, I have to thank Gregor. He did a great job with the setup. It was relatively easy for me to start prepare myself for the race. And yeah, thanks to Team Redline, obviously. It's my first season with Redline, the WCS, so it's been huge and huge thing for me. And thanks to Fanatic and OKO for providing me all the hardware where what I can be fast with. And yeah, thanks to you, RaceSpot guys. You have been doing a great job here. Greetings to my parents as well.
No, you're welcome. Get well soon. There's Ollie Pakula, finished 4th in this race, and I'm going to stand alongside Mac Backham as well. So Mac, P5 in this race. Now, looking at the championship, it looks like you might have fallen short of that top 25 position. I don't know your feelings about that, whether you would have hoped to, get a free license into 2016, or whether, you would have at least liked to now participate in that Pro Series and gain a little bit more experience against a few guys.
Well, it's sort of mixed feelings, honestly. I would definitely have preferred to just be top 25, but I do really, really love racing this car, so I'm sort of happy I can just race it for another season before we switch to the McLaren.
And also, in that Pro Series, you're heading out there on November the 7th. Are you going to go out and win every race like Mitchell de Jong did last year? Do you think you can do that? There is some good, talented drivers that will be racing this year, but at the moment, it seems like with your strong performances, you've set yourself a reputation where people don't want to mess with Mac Backham.
Well, ideally that would happen, but it's going to be very tough. There's a lot of good drivers, and yeah, I definitely have to improve my qualifying performance if I want to get any chance at winning a race, because at the moment my race pace is great and I'm moving through the field, but I keep dropping everything in qualifying, it seems.
Finally, save all your thank yous for this last question. You've joined Radicals Online, a good team. How's the atmosphere going into the off season, I should say? And I'm sure you have a lot of thank yous as well.
I think the atmosphere is great. We still have a lot of things to do with the Blancpain series and some hosted series. And I'm just looking forward to the Pro Series right now. I have a few teammates helping me, and I'm sure that's going to be great. And of course, I'd like to thank Team Radicals for a great season, and also Apex Racing for doing a great job with the setup together with us. That definitely helped me get some good positions this year.
There's Mac Backham, your 5th finisher in today's event. We'll see him out there in the Pro Series later on. Delighted to see such a strong field of drivers another year being presented to us. Finally, Daniel Benefield, you're with our 18th place finisher, Alex Simpson, who started in 11th, fell down the order, but has had a promising season and gains a top 25 spot.
Yeah, I'm about to maybe lose my spot in the team because, boss, what were you doing? I know you were being safe. Anyway, obviously dropped back to around Antine early on. Was it more just conservation today?
No, if you'd have done an onboard view, you'd have seen my steering wheel pointing for about 30 degrees to the right, and I didn't actually steer left in the whole track apart from the hairpin, so had some pretty big time damage, so just tried to keep it pointing forward, and I spun with like a lap to go or something, so I was kicking myself. It was the only time I lost it, and it was very, very weird and pointy and horrible to drive, so just knew I had to finish to make sure that I got the top 25, so that was it. And then of course when anyone was around me, I didn't want to ruin their races or end my own race, so I just really just radioed them and just said, look, just take it. I don't want to cost us anything. So that's really why when Yoni come by me, I just sort of moved over and just let him have it. It just wasn't worth it at the end there. It was such a bad car underneath me.
Okay, you'll get away with it this time. Obviously, was that with Tomo? Because I did see Tomo Medlick around, and obviously he didn't finish the race. So was that with Tomo in turn 1?
I'm not honestly sure who it was, but yeah, it was turn 1. I mean, I got a bit of a bad start, got a bit of wheel spin. I think I lost a couple of places there, and then hit turn 1, just come sort of about 3/4 of the way around a corner, and then all of a sudden there's like 2 cars just lined up right in the middle of the track. I had nowhere to go, cars to the left, cars to the right. I just braked and was stationary, and then just got hit from behind, and it was some damage on the rear left, I think. So the like I say, I could barely turn right at all, but the left-handers were just deadly. So yeah, it was tough, but it was from pretty much every single lap of the race.
Do you want me to do the sponsor thank yous, or do you want to do it?
No, I'm happy to give a shout out to all the sponsors. So to Simputer's PC Systems, my old man's company there, so he supported us this year. It's been great to have him on board and helping us out through that. Leo Bodner, of course, GT Omega, and Precision Sim Engineering. Just want to also give a big shout out and thanks to RaceSpot for broadcasting all the events. All my teammates, Radicals as well. It's been really fun working with those all season. Really looking forward to what we can do with the car next year, the new car, and Sebastian's going to be very, very quick. We're trying everything we can to get him up there. Antoine as well, done a great season as well. He had some issues as well, and I'm really looking forward to all the guys heading up into the Pro Series.
Are you going to be keeping
Alex.
Sebastian? That's the main question.
Well, I hope so. We don't contract anyone or anything like that. It's just sim racing. This isn't, real world racing. I hope the support that we give him he'll want to stay. I mean, he's certainly shown that he can mix it with the best guys in the Apex car this season as well. And I think next season we'll see him on the podium a few times. So, yeah, my wish is for him to stay. I haven't heard anything different in TeamSpeak or anything like that, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see on round 1 next year.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alex. And I'll be in TeamSpeak after this, so you can shout at me.
Yes, no problem. Thanks, guys.
Certainly.
Thanks again for the broadcast.
No problem. So, Alex, will he be at Apex? No, I'm joking. He'll definitely be there. Team owner from Apex Racing UK team. And Will Vincent, who joins us here from the Petit Le Mans broadcast. It's been an incredible 2015 season, and once again, Gregor Hutu with 5 championships, proving his worth once again.
Indeed so. In about 20 seconds' time, I'm going to try and sum all of this up simultaneously on 2 broadcasts at one time. I will say one thing, it's incredibly difficult to do what we do at some point, but we try and do it the best we can. I agree though, Gregor Hutu has been at the absolute top of his game once again, and here is the reason why, coming your way now. So welcome back to those of you watching on the iWCGPS Petit Le Mans, also here on the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. Gregor Hutu, we came to this season thinking maybe he may be challenged. He was challenged by iWCGPS COTA at the start of the season, winning the first 2 rounds of the championship. Then he was challenged by Commander SimSports with the fact that Mitchell de Jong wanted to go and add his name to the winners list. And we thought, is this going to be the year that Gregor Hutu actually loses his championship for the first time since 2011? When the middle part of the season came along, Hutu just does what Hutu does better than anyone else. Win after win after win after win after win. Even when he wasn't winning. Go back to Suzuka. When he qualified so far down the field, he found a way to get into P4. Yes, he may have had that, team orders, not team orders, whatever happened of himself and Ollie Picard, but he still got himself into P4 in the first place. And from P13, that is what makes you a world champion, Johnny.
It certainly does, and well deserved, as you mentioned. Gregor Hutu is one of the world's best sim racers, and that's quite obvious. There's no doubt about it. We always say it day in and day out. It's been an incredible season, and I mean, the talent level we've had in 2015, in my opinion, has been the best. We've had Mitchell de Jong coming in, who's leaving us at the moment. Another driver, a rookie, who's coming in, giving us that talent that we needed. iWCGPS with those 2 race wins towards the start of the season. We look at other guys, Ollie Pakula, Hugo Luis, our other champion. There's so many names I'm going to not forget. Just there's so many names I can mention. We'll be here all day. I think 2016, considering this series gets better and better each year, 2016 with that new car will be one of the best seasons we will ever see in the series, knowing it'll be unpredictable. It'll be similar to the 2012 Formula 1 season. Mm-hmm. We won't know what's going to happen towards the entry of that series.
I think one thing that's very worth mentioning is that new car. A new car means new circumstances. Now, the only time that Gregor Hutu hasn't won a world championship is when they changed cars. That was back in 2011. Back in 2010, they ran the Dallara IRA5. 2011, they brought along the Williams. So, if you are Commander SimSports, put all your eggs into one basket, because this is your best chance ever to dethrone the Finnish hero known as Hutu.
It certainly is, and I think finally we'll have to wrap things up here. It's been an incredible season, Will, as we mentioned, incredible event throughout the year. Drivers from iWCGPS initially taking those 2 race wins to Mitchell de Jong, claiming 3 race wins in his official rookie season. Well, we mustn't forget second place finisher Martin Kroenke, who took the fight to Gregor Hutu until Interlagos, where he lost out in the end. And Gregor, I mean, what to say? We've wrapped it all up perfectly just then. One of the world's best sim racers, year in and year out. We expect him to decline as he gets older. That's not going to happen. He's always going to be up there fighting for wins, fighting for championships. It's been incredible, and surely will at the moment. I mean, there's so many people to thank. We got our sponsors and One Design as well, with their big announcement that I'm sure you know more about over the next few months.
Indeed so, yes. And One Design, the official graphics partner of RaceSpotTV. We have had some amazing times with One Design. Andy Warner, we've got some new stuff coming your way as well in the next couple of months. We take sim racing broadcasting to the next level. There is no better graphics partner in the world that we can work with. So Andy, thank you so much for all that you do for us. And yeah, I'm not gonna tell you what the announcement is. He knows what it is. He'll let us know in his own time.
He certainly will. So finally, all the thank yous to do right now as Will Vincent prepares his Petit Le Mans broadcast over there for you all. It's going to be a wonderful event. Stay tuned for those tuning into the World Championship to watch that on iRacing Live. But the thank yous, well, first of all, I'll start off with PSR TV, who helped us for round 3 and 7 at Sebring and Virginia International Raceway. A big thank you to Chuck and Ian, who did a remarkable job filling in for those rounds, and I joined them in the commentary booth. The whole crew at RaceSpotTV, It's been another extraordinary year. We still have a couple months left of great broadcasting, and I'm sure you'll allude to more of what we have later on, Will. All commentators and broadcasters that have helped, you, Will, Rachel Whiteford as well, Daniel Benefield, who commentated for round 3 and today, Ian, who helped me out for round 7, and Dan Blake for round 11. Mustn't forget Mr. Cam Walsh, who has stepped in and helped us both in the commentary booth and behind the scenes from time to time. Hugo Luis as well, our co-owner here at RaceSpotTV, for all his help throughout the year, and he's been contributing heavily to the success of RaceSpot and trying to get him and his sexy car out there for us all to see week in and week out. And what about Raphael, helping us stream a few races this year, helping us consistently, as always, behind the scenes. Thank you once again to you. The iRacing stewards, as always, Shannon Whitmore, who, despite my criticism of the fact that a one-lap penalty and a race suspension are no different, you can easily criticize stewards. And in the end, he's done an incredible job for him and the team over there all year. We mustn't forget, it's easy to criticize the public's feasibility of criticizing stewards and referees in general. It's so easy, but their job has been performed at a great standard. Thank you to iRacing as well, and the World Championship Grand Prix Series. Most of all, a big thank you to all you fans who have watched throughout the year. It's been incredible to watch viewing numbers skyrocket every single round, and we hope that we reach 250,000 next year. That's my goal, at least personally, to see. And all drivers and teams, we've seen one of the strongest grids out there for the year. The 6th year of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series concludes here, and what a World Championship it has been, with Gregor Hutu wrapping up his 5th title. The strongest grid, as I mentioned, that we've seen throughout the history of the championship, that will only get stronger in 2016. A new car, the McLaren. How will that fare for some of the drivers trying to learn and get to grips with the iRacing simulator? Alexei Usiakala, who took the first 2 wins of the season. I put my money on him, which I've lost at the moment, to win the championship. So we'll see how he works on his consistency over the off-season. Plenty of other drivers, our other race winners, Mitchell de Jong, Martin Kroenke as well. But in the end, it was one Gregor Hutu who wins the championship and closes out the 2015 season with pride.